17-year-old Tate Martinson, who is also being charged with robbery stemming from the October 11th incident, is scheduled for a preliminary hearing tomorrow after now being charged as an adult. Fort Dodge City Manager David Feerick was a guest on Divine Intervention with Mike Devine on KVFD AM 1400. During his appearance, Feerick would talk about broadband.
Citywide elections, we put on the ballot, and basically it's a referendum. It's a question, basically, shall the city have the authority to establish a municipal telecom utility for the city? So if that passes, meaning 50% of the people vote for it, then the city has the authority to establish a municipal telecommunications utility, which would probably have voice phone, it would have internet, and then it would have cable television, because you usually provide all three, the big one being the internet.
Feerick says if the broadband utility passes, there's still a lot of steps in the process.
If that passes, the city council still has a lot of work to do before they're going to go build a telecommunications utility. In fact, they have to go through a full feasibility study to determine that it is practical and the right thing to do and a prudent thing to do to build a telecommunications utility.
Feerick says the city council has made this a priority because of the major need that they see broadband is in the Fort Dodge community.
As a council, they put this on their strategic plan as a very important initiative, and it is because communications, internet communications, has become a essential utility. Much like 100 years ago when water and sewer were becoming the essential utilities that cities provide, now it's telecommunications. We have over 25% of the people that did the survey do some form of work from home and rely on internet service to do that functions.
Whether the city can create a broadband utility will be left up to the voters in the citywide elections on November 5th. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. We'll see a few scattered rain showers this afternoon with cloudy skies and temperatures holding rather steady. Winds out of the north at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, a slight chance for rain showers early on, cloudy, a low near 31. By Thursday, partial sunshine develops, a high 44 degrees. And Friday, mostly sunny sky conditions will see a high 51. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 43.
Cyclone fans know whether you measure success in yards per game or bushels per acre, it takes the best to perform at your best. That's why more farmers turn to DeKalb and Asgrow brand corn and soybeans, featuring exclusive genetics and whole farm solutions to champion your profitability, no matter what the season brings.
This week, Champions of Yield with DeKalb Asgrow previews the Cyclones game against Oklahoma State. It is homecoming for Iowa State, and the Cyclones defeated OSU in Stillwater last season. Brock Purdy burst onto the scene in that game. The true freshman rallied the Cyclones to a road win over a top 25 opponent to jumpstart their season. And now Purdy, as a sophomore, is one of the top quarterbacks in college football. It'll be a 2:30 kickoff between the Cyclones and Cowboys in Ames.
Be a champion on both fields this season. Be a champion of yield with DeKalb Asgrow. Performance may vary. Always read and follow IRM where applicable, grain marketing, and all other stewardship practices and pesticide label direction.
Loffersweiler's Funeral Home understands that losing a loved one is one of the most difficult things you will ever experience. They understand that a family who has experienced the loss of a loved one needs immediate assistance that often can't wait until the next morning. Loffersweiler's is there in the darkest moment of a family's life, guiding them through the emotional roller coaster of saying goodbye. More importantly, the staff at Loffersweiler's listens and they care. Loffersweiler Funeral Home, Fort Dodge, serving families like yours since 1856.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
This week on the Iowa Watch Connection.
But honestly, we don't care who's driving the bus. We just want the bus to be moving.
Iowa's small towns and rural areas are rethinking things.
These people are so dedicated to helping these communities rebuild, and it just inspires you.
But that doesn't mean it's easy.
Once I fell in love with it and knew what it could do for the town, it was the most noble, it felt like, of efforts, because it's the one thing I could do that would move the needle the most.
Rural and small town redevelopment, our topic this week.
The Iowa Watch Connection is presented by the Iowa Center for Public Affairs Journalism, online at iowawatch.org. Here is Jeff Stein.
Ask someone from the east or west coast about Iowa, and they no doubt will describe rural areas dedicated to agriculture, along with small towns and quaint courthouse squares. That's traditionally been a big part of the Iowa lifestyle experience, but it's hardly all there is. Obviously, Iowa's cities of size increasingly resemble cities of size in any other state, and one large shopping mall does tend to look like another. Preserving the idyllic rural way of life is more of a challenge these days. Small towns that are located near larger cities often find it hard to attract and keep businesses to populate a downtown district. And in a world of online shopping, the problem is made worse. A variety of efforts are underway to help Iowa's smaller towns not only survive, but thrive. Bill Menner is the executive director of the Iowa Rural Development Council, which has hosted summits each of the past 2 years designed for community leaders to come together to discuss their future.
I think it's important to note that sometimes the catalyst can be the person who drives the team. It may not be the mayor or the city manager or the chamber director, but it may be a community member who has either attended in the past or heard about the summit who says, you know what, I think we should do this, and they go ahead and put a team together themselves. They don't have to have the official stamp of approval from the city. They're a community leader, and they're taking that approach. Now, hopefully when they go back, they're going to sit down with the mayor or the city manager or the chamber director and start these conversations. But honestly, we don't care who's driving the bus. We just want the bus to be moving.
Those springtime summits are unique as attendees cannot just come alone. Groups of 3 people from communities of no greater than 9,000 population participate to make sure ideas have a broader base of support. The state's Empower Rural Iowa initiative is also placing greater focus on the need to bolster Iowa's non-urban areas.
Growing, investing, and connecting. And they can be defined a lot of different ways. She initially defined them as broadband, housing, and rural leadership. That's not always going to be the same, and I think what this task force is going to do now that they have made their initial recommendations, now that some of those recommendations were turned into legislation and passed and the governor is signing them, is that they can now sit down and think strategically about, okay, housing, broadband, rural leadership, we haven't solved those problems, but we've come up with some recommendations. What's next? And if you go by some of the comments by people at the Rural Summit, some issues that could emerge are, we did have a workshop on daycare. Daycare is still a huge challenge in rural communities. We heard about health care. Whether it's access to health care or recruiting providers to rural communities, there are a whole bunch of health care related issues that could very well emerge and that would be appropriate for Empower Rural Iowa to take on if they so chose. We heard about water quality. We also heard about agriculture itself, the business of agriculture. Rural development, lowercase rural development, often doesn't deal with agriculture. It deals with the value-added elements and the implications of agriculture on communities and vice versa. But a number of people pointed out that small towns and agriculture are so linked, so closely linked, that it's almost odd that there's not a discussion somehow of some element of agriculture. So maybe that's something that comes up in discussion. But these are all things that have to do with quality of life, with the willingness of people to live in small towns, to keep them here, to bring them back, to create institutions that support them, whether it's schools or hospitals or fire departments, churches, and the governor has given us a platform to really dig deeper into these issues and pull more partners in. That's the thing that's most exciting, is that because of the governor's focus on this and her partnership with us, that's brought more people into the Rural Development Council who have said, this is important to us. How do we get involved?
The Federal Small Business Administration has a variety of programs designed to help rural areas thrive. Jane Armstrong is the district director of the SBA in Iowa.
Basically, we work for small business. You can't get any more simple than that. And SBA oversees, we're a cabinet level agency at the federal level that we oversee either fund or have oversight pretty much every small business program out there that relates to small businesses, whether they're starting up or growing their business. People sometimes forget that every single corporation got their start as a small business in a garage around a kitchen table, just like everybody else. And, SBA programs have helped companies like Apple, Intel, Federal Express, Nike, Ben & Jerry's, Under Armour, you name it, they got started with SBA programs. So we're very proud of that, and but we work with businesses all over the country, all over Iowa, in urban areas and metropolitan areas to our smallest towns. Rural America is especially important to SBA, and we have a partnership that we work closely. We always have, but now we have a formalized partnership with USDA Rural Development. We have our programs, we really have tried to align them, and we do a lot of referrals back and forth. We're doing a lot of programming together. But, our roles, and I come from, I spent a lot of years working in rural areas with rural microenterprise and aquaculture industry and especially food production. So rural is very, very close to me, helping our smallest towns survive, not only survive, but to thrive. And so, this is something very close to my heart personally, and that is very important to SBA. We're very involved with the Rural Development Council, and so it's just a natural fit. Our offices might be in Des Moines and Cedar Rapids, but that's just an address. I'm always in my car somewhere in 99 counties, and you can bet that it's always in rural areas.
Prior to directing the Iowa Rural Development Council, Bill Menner served as the USDA Iowa Rural Development State Director for 8 years. I asked him if he was optimistic about the future.
I think I'm optimistic because it's so obvious that people in small towns care about the future of their communities. They're all invested. And then when you start seeing new generations of leaders emerge, you see new partnerships come about. You see projects like what we saw in Jefferson, with the software developer coming in, partnering with the community and targeting high school kids and training them to be the next generation of coders, or communities that are undertaking other innovations with philanthropy. There's really cool stuff going on out there, and the biggest challenge is we don't do a good enough job telling the story. So that's why there is this myth out there that rural America is dying, that rural towns in Iowa are going away, and it's because we don't beat our chests enough and we don't proclaim, you know what, here are the great things we're doing, and here are the young people that are moving back. And you can look at the demographics and you can look at the charts and you can say, oh, nope, you're losing population. Well, maybe we are, but not everywhere. There are places that are changing, and those places that aren't going down, or that are at least stemming the tide, are doing it because they're being really, really proactive and really innovative, and they're trying new things. And when you're dealing with a town of 1,500 people, a small change can have a huge impact. If you make a small change in Des Moines or Cedar Rapids or Waterloo, you may see a ripple, but you can make a small change in a small town and have a huge impact in the end. And that's what we're seeing in some of these places.
When we come back, we'll tell you the story of one revitalization project that reclaimed a building with a storied history, giving it new life and a new spark to a downtown region. That's next, as the Iowa Watch Connection continues.
Iowa hog farmers have a lot to be proud of.
Proud of the quality products we put on tables around the world.
Proud of the strides we make to protect Iowa's natural resources.
Proud of the number of Iowans we're able to employ in safe workplaces.
Proud to protect and promote animal well-being in everything we do.
Iowa pork producers are proud because they do it right. And that's something all Iowans can take pride in.
Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
Iowa's pork producers work hard daily to produce safe, affordable food. Through the industry's We Care initiative, hog farmers are firmly committed to doing things right. That means keeping their pigs safe and healthy, safeguarding natural resources, protecting public health, and building strong communities. Producers fully understand the importance of pork quality, responsible production, and continuous improvement. It's the moral and ethical thing to do. Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
If you don't listen to him, you suck.
He's sneaky, but he's right.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
The Iowa Watch Connection radio program is part of a statewide audience engagement project organized by the Iowa Center for Public Affairs Journalism, an independent, nonprofit, nonpartisan news organization. The center is dedicated to producing high-quality investigative and community affairs journalism in Iowa, while also training journalism students to do this work at a high ethical level. The center is found online at iowawatch.org.
Welcome back to the Iowa Watch Connection. I'm Jeff Stein. Grinnell boasts a population of just more than 9,000. The main portion of the city sits just north of Interstate 80, but development of Grinnell to the south easily connects citizens to that major roadway. The Jewel of the Prairie, as they call themselves on banners throughout the town, is home to a private college, a business district that has survived despite large chain stores clustered near the interstate, and now a luxury hotel that once served as the local junior high school. That may not sound like the most logical transition of a building to you. It didn't to me either. But it is an example of how Iowa's smaller areas are reinventing themselves, finding unique points to emphasize and preserve in an effort to not only provide a higher quality of life for residents, but to attract visitors and their tourism dollars. The Hotel Grinnell features sleeping rooms that once were classrooms, complete with blackboards on the wall. The theme is carried out throughout the facility. The main ballroom is the former gymnasium. Conference speakers present from the stage of the old auditorium while attendees sit in theater seats. And the food and drink outlet is called the Periodic Table, complete with the old gym scoreboard. No small undertaking, as I found out when I talked with Angela Harrington, the driving force behind the building's transformation from abandoned school building to luxury hotel.
Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I took a break from entrepreneurship when my son was little and decided to do some entrepreneurship, running the Chamber of Commerce, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Community Development here in Grinnell. And that's when I really fell in love with this project. I'll tell you, it was a heavy lift, though. There's a reason that luxury hotels, for the most part, haven't been built in small places in over 100 years. So it was a heavy lift, but if you're tenacious and passionate and won't let it go, that where there's a will, there's a way.
Now, I grew up just a county up the road in Tama County. And so literally I recall probably 45 years ago being in this building when it was a school.
Yeah.
And I know from some of the people who have attended this event, there are people who it's a walk down memory lane. You must get that an awful lot from people who have an unexpected reaction when they realize where they are.
Yeah, I would say it was not a school for 40 years, so not quite as much as you'd think. Yeah. But it certainly is a fun thing when they say, this was Mrs. So-and-so's class, or that kind of thing. That's a lot of fun.
I have the ability to imagine something and create audio or create video.
Uh-huh.
I could no more look at an empty building and imagine the end product. It takes a special, to me anyway, it takes a special sort of gift to be able to imagine it, create it, and carry it through. When you saw the structure, what spoke to you about the possibilities?
It's a lot less grand than you might think. One day I was in this building and I was just looking in all of the nooks and crannies, and I opened up a closet on second floor and I thought, oh my gosh, the janitor's closet would be a perfect hotel maid's closet. And it's silly things like that. And it was actually that then I got to thinking, well, all of these could be hotel rooms, and why couldn't the gym be our ballroom? And so it had a kind of humble beginnings in my brain, actually. But the main thing is we were really looking, and I say we, it was really took a community to raise a hotel, if you will. Once I did the due diligence and once I did the business plan, I realized that a hotel for a downtown is really the holy grail of 18-hour vitality and also pushing on that local economy. Because, we're all pushing dollars around between each other, but it's a whole nother thing when you get a visitor's dollars to run around downtown. And if you don't make it easy for a visitor to do that with, like here, 19 restaurants within a block's walk, 10 shops, all kinds of great entertainment venues, that kind of thing. So that's really what drove me to keep on going, because it was 9 years in the making. And it took 8 to figure out how we were going to make the math pencil out, and only one under construction. And then there were 2 people who I really got in over my head on the financial picture. The struggle, it's really a complex financial stack. And so I reached out to a guy in Des Moines who's an expert at that. And then I, by that time, had identified a partner to be in this with me. So it certainly wasn't alone. And when there were roadblocks that, we're not going to solve it, other experts came to the rescue.
And it's a matter, and you mentioned perseverance, because once you were in the building and you say it just came to you, in essence, which is a wonderful thing, but once you have that vision, it's really hard to let anything get in the way, isn't it? Once you've committed mentally and emotionally to a project like this?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I'm working on another project. Someone was saying that, so-and-so is going to think about that. And I said, I wish them the best of luck, but they'll give up long before I will. Yeah. And it's just really frustrating and really hard, and it's a lot of financial sacrifice too, because until you get going, there's not a lot of resources to go around to put food on your own table. So it's hard. It's hard. But once I fell in love with it and knew what it could do for the town, it was the most noble, it felt like, of efforts, because it's the one thing I could do that would move the needle the most. I don't care how long it takes, we're doing it. We got to get going. And also, I'm old enough that whenever I'm in a pickle, I reach out to really smart people who are smarter than me to say, okay, I'm at a stopping point here. I can't seem to move this one piece. What do I do? So, and in that way, I get to be the one at the end that everyone looks to, but it was a series of people that one took it across the finish line in this way, another kept it going by jumping in and being a partner with me. So it's been an amazing journey.
As you look at it today, what is most gratifying to you that still drives you to not only come here and have a very hands-on role here, but to think, we could do this project here, I could steer this project here, etc.?
This is kind of a dumb story. One, I've always been a person, especially in this community, that's pushing on trying to make things happen, kind of no matter what. There needs to be a variety of offerings for visitors, residents, workforce. So someone was telling me, what do we need another hotel for? There's already, 5 hotels at the interstate, flagged boxes. And I said, that's like saying, you have a McDonald's in your town. You don't need another restaurant. You're good. You're good with the McDonald's. It's just really important for communities to try to get a variety of offering in hotels and restaurants and dining. But the reason it's a heavy lift and why it's so hard is because we don't have the density that would naturally make that happen. So it's not going to happen on its own, and it's going going to need a lot of creative thinking to figure out how to make that math work. Because at the end of the day, this is a real business, and the math has to work. You have to pay your team, and you have to keep the lights on and pay the mortgage. And so at the end of the day, the numbers have to work.
So many people don't think of businesses as businesses. They may be an employee, and they don't think that there's somebody on the hook for everything.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're starting a project like this, you're acutely aware of it at every single step. What did this process, again, decade long almost, what did this teach you about yourself?
I'm really aware of how much I've learned about getting really smart people to help you along the way. And I guess I more learned about myself, who I was and wasn't in my earlier entrepreneurial days, thinking I could, I got this, it'll be fine. I don't. So that's something that I can't quite believe. At the same time, a project like this, it's pretty humbling when it finally comes to fruition. I've kind of always, really tried to be impactful. I really want to make a difference. It's important to me. It's what drives me. I'm one of the most resourceful people that I have met. That makes no sense. But I think the tenacity and resourcefulness is, I think, my competitive edge. Is, again, someone was saying, oh, there's a company that's going to come and eat your lunch, or that's going to try that too. And even though there might be a lot more sophistication or on the finance end or a lot more money behind them, if it comes to outplaying, outlasting, I'm pretty fierce competitor that way. I might just outlast you.
Angela Harrington, owner of the Hotel Grinnell, located across the street from the Public Library to the east and Central Park to the south. And that brings us to the close of this week's program. We're back again next week at this same time. In the meantime, you can connect with us online, iowawatch.org. Click on the Iowa Watch Connection tab at the top of the page to listen to all or part of this program again, for a list of stations that carry the program and more, iowawatch.org. Follow us on Twitter at Iowa Watch, and be sure to use the hashtag IAWatchConnection when commenting about the program. We're on Facebook too, facebook.com/Iowa Watch. And you can let us know your thoughts about this program or suggest ideas for future programs by email. The address is radio@iowawatch.org. The program is produced in the studios of News Talk 1540 KXEL, Waterloo, Cedar Falls, Cedar Rapids. I'm Jeff Stein. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you'll make the Iowa Watch Connection again next week.
The Iowa Watch Connection is a copyrighted presentation of the Iowa Center for Public Affairs Journalism, which is solely responsible for its content. For more information about the center, including how you can contribute so high-quality investigative and community affairs journalism and student training can continue, go online, iowawatch.org.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at jmike1400.
It's 2:34.
Selecting the right product for 2020. Hello, I'm Megan Grebner, and this is Managing for Profit on Brownfield, a content partnership with DeKalb. Harvest is in full swing, and it's also the time of year farmers are making decisions about seed and seed products for the 2020 growing season. In this Managing for Profit, DeKalb technical agronomist Sue Evans-Brakane talks about some considerations farmers should have when making those big decisions for next year. We'll find out more on Brownfield right after this.
A history of success means proven performance, but let's call performance what it is: profitability. And boosting yours, especially during a challenging season, takes more than just what the best seed can offer. That's why DeKalb brand corn is backed by exclusive genetics for consistent yield potential, proven over a 100-year growing legacy, enhanced by a portfolio of elite inputs and products, and maximized using digitally enabled whole farm solutions like Climate Field View, the industry's leading digital farming platform, all to help your crops stand stronger, your bins fill faster, and your margins grow wider. Let nothing shake your perseverance. Ask your dealer how DeKalb can help you realize a future of performance. Climate Field View services provide estimates or recommendations and do not guarantee results. More information at climate.com/disclaimers. Always read and follow IRM where applicable, grain marketing and all other stewardship practices and pesticide label directions.
It's a busy season for farmers. In addition to harvesting crops, they are also finalizing decisions for the 2020 growing season. DeKalb Asgrow technical agronomist Sue Evans-Brakane says when farmers start thinking about next year, they should take a look back at some of the challenges they faced this year.
Understand how your disease pressure was in 2019, because that's building inoculum for the next seasons coming forward, whether it was in your stalks or leaf tissue. I want to note your tillage practices. So did you have a difference in different farms with soil types that affected your tillage? And we also had some places we went in wet. Your management style, as I'm looking at products, do I tend to be a high fertilizer? Do I get a full soil test that maintains micronutrients as well as the macros? And then also note which products did well in which type of soils. And some of that can be based upon your fertility regime.
She tells Brownfield farmers should also pay attention to local yield data.
But I will caution, as usual, I would take out and not focus on just a single plot. You may have a plot winner that does fantastic. It may be a high yield, high product. We have those. Everybody's lineup has those. But watch and make sure that you're not using single point data to choose and select products. A lot of times your best products are the stable steadies that'll maintain a higher yield, but maybe number 2 or 3 consistently across several plots and a lot of fields in the market area. The other thing to understand is what traits do you guys need to have on your farm? Is it a rotated or non-rotated acre? Are we going to beans or some other product in between? And do you need corn rootworm? Do you need a drought guard? What kind of traits does your farm need for your local area?
Evans-Brakane says there are a lot of great genetics available for farmers for the 2020 growing season.
We have some fantastic health in the lineup that was brought forward. Across the DeKalb lineup, we have a new set of products where there's 28 new products were featured across the RM from a 93 to 120 relative maturity. And those feature exclusive genetics that are industry-leading trait technologies with very strong agronomics for high yield potential. We're looking at 4 new products that contain the DeKalb Disease Shield, which is basically a tagline that provides us enhanced protection on the top 5 yield issues.
And all new DeKalb products, as well as additional top performers, will include Acceleron Seed Applied Elite with enhanced disease control, allowing early to mid-season disease control, helping protect yield potential without additional cost to farmers. I'm Megan Grebner with Managing for Profit on Brownfield, a content partnership with DeKalb.
Dutch Boy's new Platinum Plus paint with Stain Shield technology has the performance you expect from a luxury paint at a price you didn't. Platinum Plus is up to 50% more washable and stain resistant than a leading premium paint in satin sheen. Superiority ranges from 24 to 50% depending on sheen selected. Platinum Plus keeps your walls looking new longer. Menards and Dutch Boy paint have you covered. Go ahead, live your life.
Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Savings are a mail-in rebate. See store for details.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The suspect in the murder on October 11th on the west side of Fort Dodge appeared in court today. Fort Dodge resident Damian Chavez made his initial appearance today on charges of first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. Chavez is accused of killing Sioux Falls, South Dakota resident Mohammed Yoab. Chavez was captured October 13th during a traffic stop in South Georgia. Bail was set for Chavez at $6 million cash only. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for him on Friday, November 1st. 17-year-old Tate Martinson, who is also being charged with robbery stemming from the October 11th incident, is scheduled for a preliminary hearing tomorrow after now being charged as an adult. Fort Dodge City Manager David Furyk was a guest on Divine Intervention with Mike Devine on KVFD AM 1400. During his appearance, Furyk would talk about broadband.
Citywide elections, we put on the ballot, and basically it's a referendum. It's a question, basically, shall the city have the authority to probably establish a municipal telecom utility for the city? So if that passes, meaning 50% of the people vote for it, then the city has the authority to establish a municipal telecommunications utility, which would probably have voice phone, it would have internet, and then it would have cable television, because you usually provide all three, the big one being the internet.
Furick says if the broadband utility passes, there's still a lot of steps in the process.
If that passes, the city council still has a lot of work to do before they're going to go build telecommunications utility. In fact, they have to go through a full feasibility study to determine that it is practical and the right thing to do and a prudent thing to do to build a telecommunications utility.
Furick says the city council has made this a priority because of the major need that they see broadband is in the Fort Dodge community.
As a council, they put this on their strategic plan as a very important initiative, and it is because communications, internet communications, has become a essential utility. Much like 100 years ago when water and sewer were becoming the essential utilities that cities provide, now it's telecommunications. We have over 25% of the people that did the survey do some form of work from home and rely on internet service to do that function.
Whether the city can create a broadband utility will be left up to the voters in the citywide elections on November 5th. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge, 242 and some rain, 40 degrees. Rain will go on the rest of today. We may get to a high of 47, but I kind of doubt it. Overnight, a chance of rain, then cloudy, becoming partly cloudy toward morning with a low of 31. Pick your rutabagas early, as Jed Clampett used to say. On Thursday, mostly sunny with a high of 44. Friday, sunny with a high of 51. Saturday, sunny with a high of 58. On Sunday, it'll be sunny with a high of 48. Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 44. Tuesday, chance of rain and snow. We may have snow on the ground Tuesday with a high of 40 degrees. Probably won't stick around that long, but it's certainly giving us a little shot across the bow. Winter's on the way. Again, 40 degrees with some rain right now. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Dick Whitcomb has died. Mr. Whitcomb's funeral is tomorrow morning at 10:30 at Corpus Christi Church with Gunderson Funeral Home serving the family. That's Mr. Dick Whitcomb has passed away. Bud Fair of Manson, well-known area resident, has passed away at the age of 94. Mr. Fair was a boxing instructor for many, many years. He coached boxing probably 35 years or more through the Fort Dodge Boxing Club. There will be a celebration of the life of Bud Fair, and that's going on Saturday the 26th. A reception will follow at the VFW here in Fort Dodge. Urban Bud Fair has died at 94. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. 244, 40 degrees at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. December corn down a quarter penny at 3.87 3/4. March down a quarter cent at 3.99 3/4. May down a half a penny at 4.06 1/4. July down a penny at 4.12. November soybeans down a quarter penny at 9.33 3/4. January unchanged at 9.48 1/4. March down a quarter penny at 9.59 1/2. May down a half a cent at 9.68. December wheat of 2 3/4 at 5.20 3/4. Soybean meal of 1.70 a ton at 3.0860. October live cattle of 32 cents at 110.20. December of 1.55 at 1.15 1/4. October feeder cattle of 1.32 at 1.45.02. November of 1.25 at 1.44.75. December lean hogs of 32 cents at 65.82. February down 1.17 at 75.10. From the farm desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about, and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless, and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
As a farmer, I want a cooperative that's there for me.
Not the other way around.
A local co-op that works for me and works with CHS.
To connect me with local experts I know and trust.
And put a global network of markets and supply at my fingertips.
A co-op that's here to help us.
Own every day.
When you're an owner of a local cooperative connected to CHS, you get local expertise, a proven efficient supply chain, and global market access. Learn more at cooperativeownership.com.
Having a high-yield harvest matters. Having a positive ROI matters even more. NK's broad genetic portfolio was developed using advanced technologies and traits, plus the latest data analytics, so we can recommend products that deliver the value you need to help maximize your operation's profit potential.
In this area, check out S27 M8X brand. This variety offers first-class performance in any growing season. Ask your NK retailer about S27 M8X brand and other top-performing products.
Mom, Dad, I'm getting married. That's wonderful, dear.
Congratulations. So have you decided on a date?
Yes, this Saturday. What? Are you serious? We need to plan. There's so much to do.
What about the church? The flowers, music, food, inviting everyone?
You would not want to be faced with those hurried decisions then. Why do that to your family with your own final arrangements? I invite you to sit down with us at Gunderson's to pre-plan your funeral. Pre-planning allows you to make thoughtful decisions with a clear mind. Give us a call at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services, Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
That's right, we're making radio great again at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, keeping an eye on the lunatics. No, I don't mean Trump and the Republicans. Hillary Clinton is thinking of running for president in 2020. What a surprise. What a surprise. The New York Times is putting forth a series on her emails. Remember the email scandal? And the State Department has concluded that while her handling of classified information by private email was sloppy and careless, now this is the smartest woman in the world, of course, you understand, Hillary Clinton, but in her private affairs, apparently, even when it comes to classified information, she's sloppy and careless. What a surprise. What a surprise. That, along with her inability to run large organizations, as she proved in the 2008 campaign and the 2016 campaign, were contributing factors in her defeat. Of course, she has convinced herself it was the Russians. It simply couldn't be her. No. She's apparently tired of just playing the bitter, angry woman up in Chappaqua, New York, and she just has to get back in the race. And this is the key element here. This is why Hillary Clinton thinks there's an opening. First of all, she's right. She's not the candidate, but there is an opening for the Democratic nomination to be the United States president. The candidates the Democrats have, of course, are terrible. Biden is spending most of his time wrestling with the problem that he had done in the past, essentially what the Democrats now believe Trump did, that is an impeachable defense. Biden will not be the next president. He's wanted to be the next president since 1988, but he keeps getting in trouble like this. Remember in 1988, some of you older people will remember that Joe Biden was running for the nomination, And he was giving speeches. He gave a couple of speeches that some in the press thought sounded familiar. So they went and found a what was his name? A British Labour politician. They found a video of a British Labour politician. And Biden had copied this Labour politician's speech word for word, verbatim, and brought it over here and acted as if it were his own. Needless to say, he dropped out of the race in '88, and he kind of tucked his beak under his wing for a long time after that regarding his chances to be president. But most of these guys just cannot accept the fact that the country doesn't want them. Most presidential candidates really believe that they're the ones to save the country. Yes, they are megalomaniacs in the extreme. You and I can't think that way. But presidential candidates, and Trump may even feel this way now, and certainly all the Democratic Party candidates going back a number of years. Bill Clinton certainly believed that not only could he do this better than anybody else, as he used to say, he'd tell his aides and even under other opponents, Democratic opponents of his, there's nobody out here that can do politics like I can do. And he was kind of partially right. Clinton was deeply flawed, of course. People want to give him credit for clever, far-reaching programs and proposals. The only thing I ever saw him do that I remember was gays in the military, which he never mentioned during the campaign, but was the first order of business after he was president. And it wasn't so much gays in the military. I'll tell you what, I was in the military 4 years, and there's gays in the military. There's gays in all 4 branches of the service. I think the Navy's got more than other branches, but that's just an opinion. There's no fact to that at all, but I suspect it. No, it wasn't the gays in the military thing. As I said, everybody who was ever in the military knows there's gays in the military. It was the lying. It was the first shot. It was the first indication that we had. The first red flag with Bill Clinton is that he was a liar. It was just a small lie, I guess, a sin of omission. But, even then we felt uncomfortable with that sort of thing. Oh, you didn't mention this at all. This is kind of a big thing. It was in our culture back then, back in 1992. And you didn't tell us. You didn't think to tell us. No, that's not the story. You intentionally withheld it, which is a lie by omission. So that was the first red flag with the great white liberals, once again. Of course, that was just a small one, as it turned out. Mr. Clinton lied about, practically everything, as did his wife, who, again, will run for president. And the key reason is that, again, none of the other Democratic candidates appeared to be electable. I mean, Hillary Clinton is one of the most anti-worker Democratic presidents we've ever had. Don't give me the Republican Party as anti-worker. That's part of their gig. They represent business, and of course they're not going to represent labor. The Democratic Party's traditional base was labor. But Al Fromm and Democrats in the Democratic Leadership Conference in the mid-1980s started giving speeches all around the country urging the Democratic Party to cut ties with organized labor. They were laying the ground and preparing us all for the election of Bill Clinton. As a matter of fact, the DLC, Democratic Leadership Conference, was put together to elect Bill Clinton president. Here he was, kind of a charismatic governor of a small southern state. A little southern accent, which he brought back whenever he was in the South. That's what the deal was. That's how Clinton got to be president. With a wink and a nod to business, I'll take care of you. I'll keep labor cheap, and I'll put together NAFTA, which has a tax and regulatory policy that encourages major companies, car companies, to move overseas for cheaper labor or move across the border into Mexico. That was Clinton's great gift to business. Remember, he went down within his first year, there was a tax increase. He had a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and there was a tax increase. He felt compelled to go to Houston, Texas, which is a very conservative city, to I can't remember. It was a convention of businessmen, but I can't remember what they called it. And he got up on the podium, and there's video of him doing this. He got up on the podium, and he didn't seem to say, he said to the crowd of business executives in Houston, Texas, in front of cameras, some of you think that I raised taxes too high. I'm going to tell you something. I think your taxes were raised too high. And then he went on to make a rationalization how it really wasn't him that raised taxes. It was at the insistence of the party. But business people could count on old Bill. Don't forget his wife, Hillary, who's running for president. No, she hasn't announced yet, but the New York Times is dropping hints all over the place, and that's a Democratic newspaper. That's the big paper of record, who seems to omit things regularly now. Well, because Trump is president, the rationalizations they make. At this moment, we must come together and not tell the truth and manipulate people and scare them, because at this moment, this is a crucial moment. I talked about Robert De Niro yesterday. Maybe the greatest actor of his generation. He showed up a few places just going F Trump. Nothing else behind it. No real argument other than that, if you can call that an argument. Actually, it's just being vulgar and crude in public. And I've come to expect that from Robert De Niro. Again, I just thought he played pugs in the movies. But apparently, he really is a pug. He really is somebody who goes, F Trump. What is that? Is that a policy statement? What? I'm Robert De Niro, F Trump. God. And they call Trump crude. No, I don't think Bernie Sanders can win as much as I would have liked him to at one time. Bernie's 79 years old, and his campaign started to fall apart when he had a heart attack. That's just the way it is. He is 79, but he could pass for 85. And yeah, he's not going to be a candidate for president. He's not going to be the vice presidential candidate at all. The big Democratic Party bundlers are scared to death of Elizabeth Warren. Again, this has been reported in the last few weeks that the Wall Street bundlers, the one who want to keep cheap labor for one thing, they're telling the Democratic Party that they're not going to support the party if Warren is the nominee. She really does believe in economic equality, and no, I don't mean socialism. I can't believe people are still running around screaming about socialism. We're not going to be socialist. It's not in us. It just isn't there. It's a dodge. It's a way of saying, well, I got a lot of money and I want to keep it, so beware of socialism. Because, Detroit in Venezuela, godless communism. It's a bore. But the Democrats are going to beat themselves again. I think the odds are better than average that Donald Trump will be elected. I do. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, KVFD Fort Dodge. Thank you for listening.
Straight talk on life and money. This is the Dave Ramsey Show on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD Fort Dodge.
A Capitol Hill
Hill sit-in. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. More than 24 Republican lawmakers making a stand, so to speak, over the closed-door impeachment process, though it appears today's interrupted testimony is now underway. Fox's Jared Halpern is live on Capitol Hill.
The questioning of senior Defense Department official Laura Cooper was delayed several hours after a few dozen Republicans, many not members of one of the three committees leading the impeachment inquiry, marched into a secure room hosting that testimony.
If this was out open and transparent, then the American public could see exactly what's going on. That's all we're wanting, is we want this to be transparent.
Kansas Republican Roger Marshall says lawmakers should be able to find out what's happening with the impeachment inquiry on behalf of their constituents. Lisa.
Meantime, Jared, a judge ordering the State Department to start producing documents related to the Trump administration's dealings with Ukraine. That ruling in a Freedom of Information case. The sanctions imposed on Turkey for its invasion of northern Syria are being lifted, as President Trump announces what's designed to be a lasting ceasefire. Fox's John Decker is live at the White House.
Saying Turkish officials had agreed to permanently end their military attack on Syrian Kurdish forces, President Trump declared what he called a big success in Syria.
We've secured the oil, and therefore a small number of U.S. troops will remain in the area where they have the oil, and we're going to be protecting it.
The president initially imposed the U.S. sanctions on Turkey after it launched a military assault on the Kurds, a key U.S. ally in the fight against ISIS. The president has been criticized by lawmakers from both parties for abruptly pulling all U.S. forces out of northern Syria. Lisa?
Thanks, John. After fluctuating all day, the Dow finishes higher, up 47 points. America is listening to Fox News.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
When it comes to keeping your small business's valuable information safe, Dell Small Business Technology Advisors can recommend tailored security solutions like servers, storage, networking. Plus, right now, get up to 45% off select business computers with Intel Core processors. Running your own small business is a big challenge, but with the right partner, it's a lot easier. To speak with an advisor today, call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
President Trump now in Pennsylvania, speaking at a shale conference in Pittsburgh. This just hours after former Vice President Joe Biden spoke in his childhood hometown, Scranton, saying the president's policies and leadership style have hurt U.S. workers. Two associates of the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, make their first appearances in Manhattan federal court.
Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman both entered not guilty pleas to the 4 charges they face, including conspiracy and making false statements to federal election officials. Outside court, Parnas says he will defend himself against false things being said about him.
And I'm certain that in the time, truth will be revealed, and I will be vindicated.
Parnas and Fruman are also linked to the impeachment inquiry in Congress for their connections in Ukraine. Their next court date is in early December, with 2 other defendants who appeared last week. At that time, the judge will set a date for trial. In New York City, Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Boeing posting weaker than expected profit for the latest quarter, though revenues were slightly better than expected, nearly $20 billion.
Overall, the numbers were disappointing, and that's because the company is dealing with the 737 MAX crisis. Profits were 53% lower than last quarter, but still the stock turned positive. And that's because the analysts said that there was no incremental negative news on the 737. In other words, the company is saying they're still on track to get it back in the air in the fourth quarter. That's what investors wanted to hear, and that's what investors got.
Fox Business Network's Jackie DeAngelis. Google announcing it's achieved a breakthrough in quantum computing, saying it's developed an experimental processor that took just minutes to complete a calculation that would take the world's best supercomputer thousands of years. The findings are published in the scientific journal Nature. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The suspect in the murder on October 11th on the west side of Fort Dodge appeared in court today. Fort Dodge resident Damian Chavez made his initial appearance today on charges of first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. Chavez is accused of killing Sioux Falls, South Dakota resident Mohammed Yoab. Chavez was captured October 13th during a traffic stop in South Georgia. Bail was set for Chavez at $6 million cash only. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for him on Friday, November 1st. 17-year-old Tate Martinson, who is also being charged with robbery stemming from the October 11th incident, is scheduled for a preliminary hearing tomorrow after now being charged as an adult. Fort Dodge City Manager David Furyk was a guest on Divine Intervention with Mike Devine on KVFD AM 1400. During his appearance, Furyk would talk about broadband.
Citywide elections, we put on the ballot, and basically it's a referendum. It's a question, basically, shall the city have the authority to, I call it, establish a municipal telecom utility for the city? So if that passes, meaning 50% of the people vote for it, then the city has the authority to establish a municipal telecommunications utility, which would probably have voice, phone, it would have internet, and then it would have cable television, because usually provide all three, the big one being the internet.
Furyk says if the broadband utility passes, there's still a lot of steps in the process.
If that passes, the city council still has a lot of work to do before they're going to go build telecommunications utility. In fact, they have to go through a full feasibility study to determine that it is practical and the right thing to do and a prudent thing to do to build a telecommunications utility.
Furyk says the city council has made this a priority because of the major need that they see broadband is in the Fort Dodge community.
As a council, they put this on their strategic plan as a very important initiative, and it is because communications, internet communications, has become a essential utility. Much like 100 years ago when water and sewer were becoming the essential utilities that cities provide, now it's telecommunications. We have over 25% of the people that did the survey do some form of work from home and rely on internet service to do that functions.
Whether the city can create a broadband utility will be left up to the voters in the citywide elections on November 5th. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Scattered rain showers likely this afternoon, otherwise overcast skies. Daytime highs approaching 46, north winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected tonight, chance for scattered showers, lows dip down to about 31. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Tomorrow, high temperatures reach up to 44. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 40.
Funeral directors are there to provide confidence, calming presence, and comforting words to help families grieve the loss of a loved one. The staff at Loffersweiler's Funeral Home raises the bar even higher. They can take care of the smallest details. They're the calm voice of reason and sometimes a very much needed shoulder to cry on. The staff at Loffersweiler's is here when you need them. They're ready to help you organize a beautiful, respectful service. Loffersweiler Funeral Home, Fort Dodge, serving families like yours since 1856.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it and within 30 minutes you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
That is what we're doing, making radio great again daily at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. A lot to talk about. I sure hope you go vote as far as the city broadband is concerned. Now, again, if the vote passes on November 5th, we need to vote by November 5th. I haven't voted yet, but I assure you I'll vote before this week is out. I've had kind of a busy week so far. But that is of prime importance locally, is to vote to give the city the authority. This is all we're giving the city authority to do, is to explore the possibility that we get our own broadband service here, city-owned broadband service in Fort Dodge. Not surprisingly, Mediacom is fighting this in a number of different ways. I know young Justin Myers, and I offer him free time on this radio station, by the way. I let his opponent, Andy Fritz, on. He's running for Ward 2 city councilman. We started talking about getting a city broadband service, and all of a sudden we have a Mediacom employee running for the city council. There's also some other people behind Mr. Meyer, from what I understand. Of course there is. Nobody runs without supporters. But I think they should come forward and explain why they picked somebody who works for Mediacom during this particular time. Why did this happen at this particular time? I do like a little conspiracy every now and then, but this seems awfully strange. It's an awfully strange coincidence. So at the candidate forum tomorrow night, I hope you will join me in attending, and that's at the Celebration Center at the Friendship Haven. I hope we will get all the candidates' views on broadband and crime, which are the two biggest things we face in Fort Dodge right now. What's happened in our town this last 6 months, is absolutely reprehensible. It cannot exist. We must not allow it to exist. A pastor in a Church of Christ beaten to death on the property of his own church is outrageous. The very next day, the St. Edmunds neighborhood is being shut up. We still don't know who did it. Melvin Newsom, a candidate running against Nevin Conrad. By the way, Nevin will be in a little bit later. And I offer Melvin Newsom free time on the air as well. Melvin's already been in here once. I haven't been able to get a hold of Melvin, so if you see Melvin Newsom running around town, have him get a hold of me here at the radio station. We'll put him right on. And I offer, by the way, let me say this clearly, I offer time to Justin Meyer, and hope he will appear on this show to explain his positions. I know he has said that if there's a vote on Mediacom that comes up, and there probably will be, he will abstain. I wonder why you do that. There's too many questions that we need to have answered. This is an important vote. You've heard on the news today, David Feerick saying that communication is crucial for our not only for our growth here in town, but for our everyday lives, and that's absolutely true. I mean, younger people get their groceries online. They order from Hy-Vee or wherever and run out to pick them up. In some cases, they're delivered. I mean, our lives are so connected online. And we don't have the service as of yet. We don't have the high-speed service as of yet that will get us there. For 3 years, I was supposed to have a Mediacom line from the pole to my house. It still isn't done. It still isn't done. You want to know why? Because we're not important here in Fort Dodge. That's it. We're just not very important here in Fort Dodge. I've had several Mediacom technicians say that, well, we got to get a line from the pole to your house. That will increase the speed of your internet. It will make our service a lot better. Fine, let them know. Oh, yeah, we'll let them know. 3 years, nothing. And, of course, let me say again, and I've been talking about it, frequently, the best way to improve our service, if you're a capitalist, if you believe as capitalists do, is through competition. Competition should drive the market, and it is a way to drive towards better service for everybody. So I hope we can do that. But I hope there's a big attendance tomorrow at the Celebration Center. Again, all the candidates will be there. I can't get a hold of Richard Higgins either. Richard is running against Dave Flattery out there in Ward 3. And I offer free time to both Councilman Flattery and his old nemesis, Richard Higgins. And I always enjoy running into Richard, and I look forward to having him on the air. And, of course, Dave's a great baseball guy, Iowa State fan. And I think he's been a great councilman as well. You know, we've been fortunate in the past to have a lot of long-serving council people who aren't mad about anything, but are excited about the future of our town. Maybe overly optimistic at times. Maybe there's been some spending programs and projects like the trails that not everybody was in favor. I get that. I get it. I'm not jumping up and down at every city project that comes down the pike. But you will have to admit the face of our town has changed in 10 years. Since Matt Bemrick's been mayor. Since Matt Bemrick has been mayor, our town has changed for the better dramatically. I know Crossroads Mall went down the tubes. Who could have seen Amazon 10 years ago the way it is today? I mean, it was the mothership, the destroyer, the great destroyer, who seemed to come up over the horizon from deep space and blasted malls right out of the sky, or right off Earth, I should say. Who saw that? But our infrastructure has been greatly improved. Our streets are have improved quite a bit. You know, we'll have to keep improving our streets for 20 years because, well, frankly, in the 80s and 90s, they just went to hell and nobody did anything about it. Nobody wanted to spend the money on our streets. No, we have to, we don't want to spend any money on this town because it's going down the tubes anyway. You really heard city council people say essentially that some time ago. Well, oh gosh, we don't want to spend that money because, well, there's no future for our town. Interesting. We'll see. We'll see about that. We have Cargill here now, CJ Bio-America. I've been told for a long time that there will be over-the-fence companies out there. I'm waiting for that. I haven't seen it yet. But I remain optimistic. Impatient, but optimistic. One of the other challenges our city faces, is the Warden Plaza. What are we going to do with that thing? But I don't think they're as important, personally, as broadband and crime right now. We absolutely have to get a handle on these shootings around town. I think there's a very small group of people doing it, and we need to focus our energy on that small group of people and get them off the streets. AM 1400 KVFD, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hey, do you happen to know in regards to that broadband internet, is there going to be a capital plan put forth for that before Election Day?
Before Election Day. What we're voting on again November 5th is to allow the city to explore the possibility. In other words... What's that?
I'm pretty sure they've already made their mind up. I just don't know if they have the, I'm just worried about the funding of the project.
It will be done through revenue bonds. Do you know what revenue bonds are?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, they do those, every couple of years?
Well, it depends on the project, but yeah, there will be no tax increases attached to this product. Revenue bonds will be sold, and then as time goes on, if the broadband system is installed, but let's assume for a minute that it will be, the people of the city of Fort Dodge vote in that direction. If that happens, then the monthly service charges will go to pay off the revenue bonds over time. Are you happy with the internet service you're getting now?
Not really. I mean, I have MediaCom.
Yeah.
And and it just seems like it's got some quirks and different little things that are wrong with it pretty regularly, you know. But I mean, I would say it works 95% of the time. I'm just worried that I just don't want to have to slip in the back seat of the car to pay for, you know, fiber internet.
Well, I wouldn't want that either. The way I see it, and we'd have to figure out what it is as we go along. By the way, the only reason the city council wants to put this on the ballot is because there's been so many complaints and so many suggestions or even demands that we get our own broadband service. Other smaller towns, and maybe some bigger towns, I don't know. But I know that Spencer has had their own broadband for a long, long time. And they have been very prosperous through its use of broadband services. I believe Algona up north also has their own broadband, and they're happy with it as well. What my basic thing here is, again, is I don't think MediaCom provides us with the service that we need. They're still hooked into those 4-hour waits. Oh, well, if there's a problem, call us and we'll schedule an appointment a week from today, and you have to go sit in your house for 4 hours and wait for us to get around to you. That's not good customer service. My God, everybody has a cell phone now. Set up a time for 9 o'clock. If you're going to be late, text me. What's so hard about that?
Yeah.
I mean,
I just think one of my biggest problems with MediaCom too is it seems like it's real expensive for a product that's got a cap on it. You know what I mean?
Well, they're going to maximize profits. That's what I'm getting at. MediaCom is just like any other business. They will maximize profits. But if they have competition, they have to start looking at what the competition is doing. Now, the best competition, I think, for a large group like MediaCom is city-owned broadband. My God, I don't believe it. Mike Sexton just walked in the studio. I had no idea the Scrapster was coming. But
you better not let him hear you talk about broadband. And
I shouldn't have let Sexton hear me talk about broadband. Why?
No, he'd probably cringe knowing that you'd want to compete with business.
Oh, you think Mike would cringe at the idea of a city competing with a private business? I don't know. I don't know. Mike, what do you think about that?
Anti-capitalism is only good for farmers.
Oh, I've given my grief. I've given all my farmer buddies the same line. Yeah, socialism for you guys, and the rest of us go to work.
Yeah.
Well, it's not so much anymore. As long as we can keep that ethanol going, I think the farmers and everybody else will be okay. But yeah, I mean, listen, I hope you vote November 5th, and to allow the city to explore this broadband. And let's face it,
if there's anybody from the city listening, I think they need to come out and kind of explain that they don't plan on doing any kind of tax increase for this. You know,
you think they need to come out of the closet?
Yeah.
Well, David Fierick yesterday, and I've heard him say this repeatedly, has explained the financing of broadband. By the way, I have a SoundCloud post on my Facebook page. Do you do Facebook at all?
Yeah, I'll go take a look at that or listen to it anyway.
My Facebook page is AM 1400 KVFD, and David Fierick's SoundCloud post is there. And he explains quite well how broadband would be financed, again with revenue bonds, not tax increases. But I'm obviously for it. I don't think our service from MediaCom is very good. Lauraville, for God's sake, is getting fiber optics. A town of 400 people, and
from a private company.
Yeah, right. And Webster Calhoun.
Exactly.
For God's sake, they have great service. Farmers from that area are always telling me, "Boy, your service in Fort Dodge sucks." We have much better broadband services, and they're right. And I just would like to see us have what Webster Calhoun Telephone has in other places.
One positive thing about fiber internet too that I don't think anybody's mentioned is the fact that it's buried underground.
Yeah.
So that when you have a storm or an ice storm or a windstorm come through, there's nobody from the city is gonna be out there trimming trees to get your internet working. It's all gonna be buried infrastructure. So
that's right. I'll tell you something. Let me tell you something. You're talking me into voting for broadband services. You're doing it. You're talking me into it.
As long as it can be paid for, I'm happy.
It'll be paid for, and it'll be no more than what you're paying now through Mediacom, and I'm paying, by the way, for the same thing. Frontier didn't even show up the other night at the debate on broadband.
And what's weird about Frontier is it looks like they're burying conduit all around town right now.
I don't know what the plan is there. Frontier, sometimes it's hard to get a reaction or a response to a question for Frontier.
Yeah, you'd think they could speak up and say something if they got big plans in the works, but
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you on that.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great day in Fort Dodge. The Scrapster is in the studio. What are you doing, Mike? I'm so glad to see you.
Well, I had to come. Why you got new mics and everything? It's been a long time since I've been over here.
No, they're not new mics. They're just
new foam.
No, new foam. Yeah, they're new.
Big expenditure of foam. No, I had to do a parts run, and I was over here, and it looked like I felt sorry for you because you didn't have any guests. You're in here all by yourself, just, stirring the pot. And so I thought, well, I'm headed out of town, headed home, so I thought I'd swing in.
You just couldn't stay away from the microphone, could you?
Well, no, I could.
You wanted your fans to hear you.
I felt sorry for you. But, back to this broadband deal. It is a big deal. It's a big deal for the small communities in my district, like Pocahontas, for instance, that, we have private telcos ready, and we passed incentives in Des Moines, incentives for these small companies to do this. The problem is they'll get all lined up ready to do this. Mediacom comes in, slashes the rates in that town and says, okay, for pennies on the dollar, we're going to let you resubscribe for the next 3 years. And then people buy into that because, oh God, it's cheap. I got to do it. It's cheap. Well, then the telco says, well, we can't compete with that. And then surprise, surprise, you have a problem or your internet's unbelievably slow. And where, just like you said, Fort Dodge doesn't matter. Well, if Fort Dodge doesn't matter, what about the Rockwell cities and the Pocahontas and the Mansons of the world?
Oh, well.
If Fort Dodge doesn't matter, then what about those small rural communities? And whether Fort Dodge decides to do this on their own or the capitalist in me would just like the caller said, would say, I'm sure everything being equal, one of these small telcos would come here, bury fiber all over Fort Dodge, and you'd have the best internet service in the country. But the problem is Mediacom is not going to let that happen.
I understand. Oh, they're fighting it really hard.
Of course they are. They're gonna. I'm sure they've already got the mailers already out to the citizens of Fort Dodge. We're going to give you a great deal. We're going to bundle. You're going to save all this money if you stay with Mediacom.
Yeah.
And so it's happening, and that's how they do it, and it just makes me more than angry.
Well, that's the way companies do business, and as I've mentioned a few times, I was on the Fort Dodge Cable Commission 5 years back in the 90s. I dealt with our old cable company, and I dealt with Mediacom when they were coming in. You have to keep an eye on them. Let me put it that way. You absolutely have to keep an eye on these folks because this is about money and power, and they're not giving that up.
I know, and I'm for big. I'm not saying that the big business isn't good and none of that. But if you like Becky, for instance, if she didn't take care of her customers, she wouldn't have any customers.
That's right,
and that's the problem. And Mediacom's got this thing all locked up.
That's what you are 100% correct. AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
I got one more fiber question that maybe Mike Sexton can chime in on.
If Mike Sexton don't know, it's unknown.
What's Chip Baltimore's connection to Mediacom?
Chip Baltimore? I know Chip. He's not even in the house or anymore.
No,
but he's in some taxpayers association group that's fighting Fort Dodge Fiber. I know that.
Chip is? Because
Yeah.
when he got in trouble and left he was an attorney for a bank there in Boone.
Yeah.
So
He's a good guy.
that was his job. So I'll have to investigate that because I don't know the answer to that question right now.
I didn't know if Mediacom had been paying him off for a few years or something or what.
Oh, Mediacom will hire people. They will hire lawyers. They will try to have influence in. They probably have hired guns in this town.
Well, they have a lot of lobbyists at the Capitol.
Yeah, a lot. Of
but no, he Chip wrote that letter to the editor. I don't know if you guys read that in the Messenger. And then
was that today?
No, that was a while.
A week or two ago.
I kind of remember that.
And then now he's got a Facebook page going that's called No Government Internet. And
really?
And
I got to see this.
Yeah, I'll send you a message here on your Facebook here after a bit when I get home.
I would appreciate. What did you say? No government internet.
No government internet.
Yeah, it's called government internet, and Chip Baltimore's behind it.
I'll be
There's
darned.
a group of people behind it, and he's one of them.
That's interesting.
Well, Chip's the one that made got a casino in Jefferson after we couldn't get one here in Fort Dodge. That was a little specious, little bit of trick. But he's a lawyer. He gets hired to do things like that.
You just can't trust them lawyers.
You can't trust those doggone lawyers. I probably will have one in here.
I thought it was politicians you couldn't trust.
No, come on.
No. Sexton is above reproach. You know that. All right. Hey, thanks for your call. All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. We'll be back with Mike Sexton.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
It's 3:52.
As the nation's leader in pork production and pork exports, Iowa's pork producers are doing things right. It's their ethical and moral responsibility. Hog farmers keep their pigs safe and healthy, safeguard natural resources, protect public health, and build strong communities every day. Pork quality, responsible production, and continuous improvement are roles they take very seriously. Iowa's pork producers, producing safe, affordable food. Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
The Webster County pork producers remind you when it comes to protecting their family's health, Iowa's pig farmers are some of the most concerned people around. Safe, affordable, delicious, and nutritious pork can be served for your dinner tonight. Roasted, grilled, stewed, sautéed, stir-fried, broiled, kebabbed, sauced, dipped, sandwiched in your new recipes and your old recipes. Why not buy some pork today and serve it up tonight? This message brought to you by the Webster County pork producers, striving to serve people, pigs, and the planet.
Hey, have you heard that ransomware attacks have increased by 500% this year?
Yeah, cybercriminals are targeting all types of businesses, encrypting their data and holding it hostage unless they pay up.
What if we're their next victim?
Don't worry, we have Barracuda to detect, prevent, and recover from ransomware and other advanced threats.
So we're secured?
Absolutely. We'll pay no ransom and keep this business up and running.
That's a relief.
Protect your business at Barracuda.com. Barracuda, your journey secured.
October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and purple is the color for domestic violence awareness. Wearing the color purple this month helps break the silence. Join us, the Domestic Sexual Assault Outreach Center, at St. Paul Lutheran Church for our annual Candlelight Vigil at 6 p.m. on Thursday, October 24th. We will have a guest speaker who is a survivor and will be reading the names of those that have lost their lives due to domestic violence in Iowa. Everyone is welcome to attend. Please join DSOC in the fight to end domestic violence.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Scattered rain showers likely this afternoon, otherwise overcast skies. Daytime highs approaching 46, north winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected tonight, chance for scattered showers, lows dip down to about 31. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Tomorrow, high temperatures reach up to 44. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 41.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. December corn down a quarter penny at 3.87 3/4. March down a quarter cent at 3.99 3/4. May down a half a penny at 4.06 1/4. July down a penny at 4.12. November soybeans down a quarter penny at 9.33 3/4. January unchanged at 9.48 1/4. March down a quarter penny at 9.59 1/2. May down a half a cent at 9.68. December wheat up 2 3/4 at 5.20 3/4. Soybean meal up 1.70 a ton at 3.0860. October live cattle up 32 cents at 110.20. December up 1.55 at 1.15 1/4. October feeder cattle up 1.32 at 1.45.02. November up 1.25 at 1.44.75. December lean hogs up 32 cents at 65.82. February down 1.17 at 75.10. From the farm desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
Eating vegetables every day is healthy, but a new survey found that 1 in 4 Americans have never eaten a vegetable. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. The poll of 2,000 Americans was conducted by One Poll for VeggieTracker.com, an online tool to track vegetable intake. More than 70% of people surveyed said they wanted to eat more vegetables, and more than 65% said they feel guilty when they fail to eat vegetables with their meal. As for why people aren't eating more vegetables, cost and convenience play a big role. People surveyed said vegetables go bad before they can cook them a lot of the time. They also said vegetables are too expensive or they simply don't know how to properly cook them. The most popular vegetable, according to the survey, is corn. Potatoes are a close second, followed by carrots, tomatoes, onion, green beans, cucumbers, and broccoli. The least popular vegetables are turnips, beets, Brussels sprouts, eggplant, artichoke, zucchini, and asparagus. According to the 2015-2020 dietary guidelines for Americans, a person needing 2,000 calories should eat 2.5 cups of vegetables each day. Research from the USDA has found that the average American adult eats about 1.5 cups of vegetables each day. Vegetables are full of fiber, vitamins, and micronutrients, which promote disease prevention. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
The Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Cynthia and Ed.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, out of the blue, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. And she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn or just stay at the stop sign. She wasn't even really sure where she was at. She was very concerned. It was very unsettling for her.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it, to bring the family in on it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Oh, why not just cremate me when I'm gone?
Sounds simple, doesn't it? However, there are many options to consider when cremation is chosen. From simple to detailed, we at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services can help you create a unique commemoration.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Start your next project today and save with 11% off everything now at Menards, including a great selection of Hunter ceiling fans. Keep your rooms comfortable and well lit using Hunter ceiling fans with energy-efficient LEDs. They're available in a wide variety of styles and finishes. Save 11% on Hunter ceiling fans and more. Sale prices are good through Saturday, October 26th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Alpha Media presents Elvis. That's right, Elvis Elvis is back. Alpha Media is proud to present the Elvis Rock and Remember Tribute Christmas Show with Joseph Hall. This special night of Christmas magic with Elvis will be Friday night, December 6th in the Cardiff Center at Fort Frenzy. Doors open at 5:30 and the Elvis Rock and Remember Tribute Christmas Show starts at 7. Tickets are $20 in advance or $25 at the door. Get your tickets now at Hy-Vee Fort Dodge, the Iowa Outdoor Store, Fort Frenzy, or get them at our Alpha Media Studios. Bring the whole family to see this tribute to the king of rock and roll and enjoy this amazing Christmas show. The Elvis Rock and Remember Tribute Christmas Show is brought to you in part by United Bank of Iowa in Fort Dodge, Pocahontas, Rolfe, and Rockwell City, Advanced Heating and Cooling of Fort Dodge, North Central Iowa Supply and Hardware Hank of Humboldt, and Riley Armstrong Plumbing and Heating. The Elvis Rock and Remember Tribute Christmas Show is an Alpha Media event.
Are you almost 65 years old? Time flies, doesn't it? Well, Medicare enrollment is coming up, and you have some decisions to make. The problem? It can be totally confusing. Medicare Part A and Part B, Medigap Plan F versus Plan G. The alternatives practically run the alphabet. Pick the wrong thing, and you may pay more than you have to. Relax. Call eHealth. We have over 20 years of insurance experience and offer Medicare supplement plans from several of the largest insurance companies. Our licensed insurance agents are well equipped to offer solutions that may maximize your savings. We can help you with questions about coverage for your doctor, pharmacy, hospital, medical care, and prescription drug costs. We can also help you check if dental, vision, and hearing coverage are available. So, you can make a big fat guess or call eHealth now for a free consultation. There's no obligation to enroll, so call now. 800-MEDIGAP. 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 This is an insurance ad for eHealth, a licensed insurance agency not affiliated with Medicare or any government agency. This ad is not for Minnesota or Texas consumers.
Dispatch, Medevac air transport to I-90. Car on fire. Unknown casualties.
When minutes matter, and the ER is too far away, air emergency care could save your life. But insurance companies don't count your minutes. They count your money. Tell your member of Congress to fight the insurance companies.
Paid for by Alliance for Access to Critical Care.
Assistant Majority Leader of the Iowa House of Representatives, Mike Sexton, and some really unimportant guys.
That are stupid.
On AM 1400, KVFD.
That's right, on the blockhead in the room today. Because I tell you, we do have the scratcher, Representative Mike Sexton. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Assistant House Majority Leader Mike Sexton. We're damn glad to do it. How's farming going there, Mike?
It's going okay. I mean, it's a struggle. Like one of the big problems we had, and I think most of us had it, was our beans never dried down. We the stalks were fine. You could shell them out in the combine, but they wouldn't. They tested high in moisture. And so there was a lot of us that sat around for 2 or 3 days waiting for our beans to dry, and it just took for a lot of us ended up taking 15% beans to town, or put them in a bin. If you had a bin and with some pretty good air, you'd be okay. But that was the first hurdle we had, is the beans wouldn't dry down, and then we finished beans Sunday night, and now we're ready to start corn, and we've dabbled in some corn when the moisture was too high, and the corn moisture is way too high, and so now we've got this rain, and this
is just a wild.
This whole
2 years in a row.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I see my mistake. This is probably all my fault. When we got done last year, I said, "Man, I'm glad we got this one out of the way, because I'll never have a year as bad as this year that we just got through, and now here we are." So it's something that every day's an adventure out there on the farm.
Well, Mike and I were talking with a caller in the last segment, and we were talking about broadband and the effort to at least research whether it's feasible for Fort Dodge to get broadband. And, of course, Mediacom is going to fight that tooth and nail. And our caller referred me to a Facebook page, Vote No on Government Internet. And they are pretty much assuring you, taxpayers, that sooner or later you will have to pay for government internet. Now, let's be clear about the government this group is talking about. They're talking about our local government. It's not some secret conspiracy in Washington or Des Moines or any of those other things. This is a decision by the voters of Fort Dodge asking our citizens, again, not a cabal somewhere where a bunch of fat guys with fat cigars are sitting around planning on taking the little guy's money. That's utter nonsense. Going to this Facebook page, I see a guy that I know, and his question to this page is, who is Vote No on Government Internet funded by? Please disclose your funding. So here's the response from Vote No on Government Internet. That tells you a lot, doesn't it? This is a response. This is a project of the Taxpayer Protection Alliance. Now, how can you be opposed to a group like that? What a bunch of crap this is.
I've never heard of that. The taxpayer.
We're going to look this up. And maybe the guy's right. Maybe the caller's right. He said Chip Baltimore was part of this. And Chip is an attorney, and maybe he's working for Mediacom. I don't know. But Vote No on Government Internet goes on to say, we have thousands of supporters across the country, and we have been doing research on these projects for many years. In other words, they didn't say who was behind this at all.
No, they didn't.
This is cheese, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's big. It's big money.
It's big money.
And so a lot of things happen when big money's involved. There's a lot of stuff going on. So, but the ICN is a government-owned internet company. I mean,
that's right.
The state of Iowa owns that, and if it weren't for that, that put the state of Iowa years ahead of a lot of other Midwest states in regards to schools and community colleges being able to access the internet. And I also believe it was the reason a lot of projects at the 133rd north of town, I think they got a lot of projects out there at that base because they had access to the ICN. I'm pretty sure I remember that. So it's,
it's one thing for Lauraville to get fiber optic service. It's another thing for Fort Dodge to get it. Because if Fort Dodge get it, Mason City will probably get it. Maybe they already have it. Maybe they already have theirs. And all the other towns the size of Fort Dodge will have fiber optics. They'll have better service, better internet. And believe me, Mediacom is terrible with their service. Their customer service is atrocious.
Oh, and so is Windstream. We have Windstream in like Manson. Manson, if you live in Manson, you have a choice. You get to choose between Mediacom and Windstream. Well, Rockwell City too. You can choose between those two. But like where we live out north of Rockwell City in the country, we don't have a choice. All we have is Windstream. And I tell you what, that service is. I'm not talking about their service guys, because those guys I think they must work 24 hours a day trying to keep things running in that system. But we lose the internet. We've out at the office, Becky's lost internet and phone service, for a day at a time. Well, it's pretty hard to run a business when you don't have those two things anymore. So.
Well, I have some more information here on the group Taxpayer Protection Alliance. It's a group in Washington, D.C. But I see a senior fellow here, and that senior fellow is Chip Baltimore. No, it's
Oh, is that you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got it plugged in over there. It was almost out of juice.
I see.
And now I got to live with that.
Because I know if our phone goes off when we're on, we get yelled at.
We get yelled at right away. But the Taxpayers Protection Alliance Foundation is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. Of course, it is.
And Chip's a senior fellow with.
Chip is a senior fellow.
Well, good for him.
It says he is a 4-term state representative from Iowa. It doesn't say that he is no longer a state. In the private sector, Baltimore was employed as general counsel with publicly traded financial services organizations. Previously, he was in private legal practice 14 years, representing clients of all types from individuals to Fortune 500 companies. Pretty impressive there, Chip. AM 1400 KVFD, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Windstream service is rotten because they're going through bankruptcy.
Windstream is going bankrupt?
Yeah.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We when you get your bill, I think it's in the bill. They must owe 1,000 companies money. It's a huge list. But Windstream wasn't doing that good on service before they filed bankruptcy.
All right, thanks for your call. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Drew Johnson is also a senior fellow. That name sounds familiar, Drew Johnson.
I don't know who that is.
He's a senior fellow at the Taxpayers Protectors Association. You know, God, what a name. Mr. Johnson is known for infusing investigating, reporting, and policy research. He's appeared on Glenn Beck, Hannity.
He must be a
He's a Fox News guy.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. AM 1400 KVFT, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hi. Hey, I'm with you on the Bizarre Harvest of the Month Club deal.
Bizarre Harvest of the Month?
Yeah. Strange season for trying to get anything in.
Are you firming today, or what are you doing?
Today we're trying to do billing and invoicing, trying to get through things, but my computer, too, is off in left field somewhere and trying to update some fix to it right now. But
well, you see, if you complain about that, you're advocating for a government organization taking over your internet that's going to charge you billions of dollars. You guys down there in the south end of town, you know.
I hope not. Hey, question: once the city puts in the fiber optic, where do they get the good quality signal from?
How do fiber optics work?
No. I understand that we have fiber optics in Fort Dodge, but if you still have a lousy service supplying the signal, it's nice that you'll have the good wire to the house, but how do you get the good signal to what we're going to split up and go around town?
Well, they'll probably pick the fiber up one of the main lines that run. There's huge fiber optics buried like on probably Highway 20 and the big highways have huge fiber optic cables. So I think, and I know just enough to be dangerous, but I think that you can tie on to one of those.
Okay. I had no idea how the good signal got here. I was kind of wondering how that worked.
Yeah, no, there's big, huge fiber optic cables running all over the state of Iowa, and you just have to be able to hook into one of those somehow. That's my understanding.
Right. I wondered how that worked.
Somebody will probably call up and say I'm full of sheep manure, and I don't know.
Sheep manure.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's right. You're a sheep guy. That's better than the pork producers.
I'm a
will
shepherd.
Be told.
I'm a shepherd.
So, did you get your beans out or not?
Yes, my beans are out, all done.
Okay. Are you into the corn or not?
Got about 2/3 of my cousins out.
Oh, 2/3 of your cousin's beans?
Yeah. He's got way more ground than I got. I've just got 280 acres, and I only do 208 as organic bean. So, but we always do the organic first because the combine's clean, so it's kind of kosher.
Sure.
That way we can get them all out, and then we can switch to regular beans afterwards. So.
Well, by 2019 standards, you're a gardener then. So we got all these, by God, huge farms.
Hobby farmer. That's why I have a paperwork business, and that's why I have a truck and trailer and drive. And,
I know.
Anything for $1.
You go well. You got to do what you got to do, man.
You and me both, brother. You and me both.
You got to do what you got to do. Hey, thanks for your.
What I need to do is figure out how to get some products from around here that would go east. With the corn prices being so good at Valero and Cargill and the area around here, there's nothing moving east. It's a son of a gun to get over there to find products in order to load fertilizer and come back.
You just talk about eastern Iowa, right?
Well, I think it's I don't know how big of the state that has the problem that they did out here. I think Cargill started it a couple weeks ago. They ran almost out of corn, and so the price went way high. The trucks were lined up clear out on Highway 7. It was hilarious trying to get in. But then all the corn's coming here. Nothing's going to the river for export. And I'm sure part of that has to do with that the Congress not getting their head out of their butt and doing that New Mexico and Canada agreement that we have going.
Well,
I'm
you know,
sure
well,
that would move some exports.
You know, Chuck Grassley was reportedly concerned about the USMCA just the other day because the Democrats are so crazy and mean-spirited that they're bound and determined to punish Trump supporters by not moving on that USMCA. They just will not give Trump what they see as a victory, and they will not allow any what they believe Trump supporters. They won't give them a break. I mean, that's what we're looking at in Iowa. So if you see a Democrat get up somewhere and say, I'm in support of agriculture, you tell them to go to hell, because they're not. Their party is.
I'm believing you're right 100%. I don't think I'd elect a Democrat for dog catcher, to be honest with you.
Well, maybe it'd be a job they can handle. I don't know.
I'm not sure of that. I believe that they would find some way to argue the point about something until they have it their way, whether it's right, wrong, or otherwise. You know, I don't care if their idea is right or wrong. I want something right or wrong for everybody, and they just don't seem to want to do that. But yeah, this bit of stalling out economy and growth, and like I said, it's putting a severe bind on trucking.
Oh, hell yes it is. But that's what they want. They want to keep reminding you that there's a penalty for supporting Trump. You must vote for them or your plight will be worse. Now, if that isn't warped politics and it says something about their personality and character, I don't know what is.
Yeah, well, then if you let them in the office, all they do is create programs like the Affordable Health Care Act, which just wipes out everybody's pocketbook trying to do health insurance every month.
Yeah, my son's my son had a nice health care package down there at Dwayne Arnold Energy Plant in Palo, Iowa, and that went away with Obamacare, and he got less coverage for more money. So yeah, he wasn't too happy with Obamacare either.
I haven't been able to understand any part of it. Like I said, I always go back to year 7 of George Bush 43's terms. My $100 deductible Blue Cross plan was $109 a month. Today I got a $4,500 deductible HSA Blue Cross plan that costs $298.07 a week and $40 a week for HSA contribution.
It's a great deal, isn't it?
Oh, I love it. It's ruined my ability to save for retirement. I don't get vacations any longer. It's terrible.
Well, we gotta work for better days. I'm not gonna let those suckers beat us.
Yeah, I hope to heck I can convince a few of my friends that are staunch Democrats. Oh, we hate that Trump guy. I tell them, I says, hey, you know what? Who cares what he says? Who cares what he tweets? He's gonna provoke anybody into a fight any chance he can. Who cares?
Who cares?
Look at the bottom line. Look at the results. Look what happens when he gets good things going, you know.
He drives me crazy on occasion. I mean, he was really up my nose last week when he pulled out.
Yeah, he's a bizarre person, I'll give you that, but his politics are perfect. He has none. That's just what we wanted.
You know, if he just run on the economy, he'd roll right to re-election, but he just can't do it. He's just got to fight, as you said. He likes it. He likes mixing it up.
Oh God, yes, he loves to provoke them, and I think it's funny. I laugh my butt off at their responses for things. You know, I believe that people Democrats should just go out and buy oceanfront property in Arizona. They really should.
No, they want us to do that. Hey, thanks for your call.
All right. Yeah, it looks like my computer's coming around. See you guys later.
The computer's coming around at last, Crapser. So, I got to put in a call to Chip Baltimore.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. I
put him on the air.
He's not a bad guy. I realize he's got to make a living, but I wish he wasn't doing it this way if this is what we suspect is the truth.
Yeah.
Did you get along with him all right down there?
I got along. He and I tangled one time and kind of turned into a big mess, but we made up.
So did you take him out in the parking lot, or what'd you do?
No, I didn't do that. But
no?
It was fairly ugly. But
did he try to do something to prevent hog buildings in Iowa, or what?
No, it was over water quality.
Water quality?
Yeah, when we were doing the water quality bill, and he and I got
sideways about
an issue, and yeah,
that was it, huh?
Yep.
No.
But we worked it out, and it was fine. And
well, that's going to happen down there, especially. It happens in life.
Yep. Exactly.
I know. you're going to be mad at everybody or stay mad at everybody, you're going to have a long life.
Yeah, exactly.
Miserable life.
Yep. That is so true. You see a lot of people, they get mad and they just stay mad.
They stay mad.
You have got to
They hold a grudge.
Yeah, you've got to get over it and keep moving forward, or it'll eat you alive.
It will.
It took me a long time to understand that, but
we got to go to the phones here. We got about 30 seconds. You're on the air. What's your question, please?
I was wondering if he could do something with the farm equipment, putting lights across the width of them.
Farm equipment, what?
The farm equipment, putting lights across the width of the equipment.
To make a regulation to put lights
So you
across the
can see
width
them
of the
at
equipment.
nighttime.
Mike, you got anything to say about that or not? We just have a couple of seconds.
I don't know. I don't know how we would. That would be hard to do. I mean, we've got lights on the outside of our equipment. I mean, it's on the width. So I don't know.
Gotta go, Mike. 4 o'clock, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
A turbulent day on Capitol Hill. Lisa Brady, Fox News. The latest impeachment testimony delayed for hours as Republican lawmakers staged a sit-in. Fox's Jared Halpern is live on the Hill.
The testimony from Deputy Assistant Defense Secretary Laura Cooper was delayed hours after dozens of Republicans demanded a seat inside a secured room called a SCIF.
Don't say members can't see the transcript. This is the ridiculous stuff that's going on. And as I said, members have had it. They've had it with this.
The top Oversight Committee Republican Jim Jordan accuses Democratic leaders of violating due process. California Democrat Ted Lieu's testimony in a secure setting is essential.
When you're doing investigations into potential criminal conduct, you do it in secure facilities, not open to the public. That's what we're doing.
Democrats also raised security concerns after some Republicans entered that secured SCIF with cell phones. Lisa.
Thanks, Jared. Well, support for the impeachment inquiry hitting a new high, 55% in the latest Quinnipiac poll. President Trump says the allegations are politically motivated.
I have witch hunts every week. I say, what's the witch hunt this week? They can't beat us at the ballot box. They cannot beat us at the ballot box.
At a shale energy conference in Pittsburgh, also emphasizing his administration's efforts to boost domestic energy production, including fracking. Some of his Democratic rivals are calling for a nationwide ban on fracking. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg spending all day on Capitol Hill pitching the plan for a new digital currency while defending a variety of policies, including the decision not to fact-check political ads.
The very small percent of our business that is made up of political ads does not come anywhere close to justifying the controversy that this incurs for our company. So this really is not about money.
Zuckerberg acknowledges making a lot of mistakes, but he's urging lawmakers not to stifle innovation. America is listening to Fox News.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time. So you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
When it comes to keeping your small business's valuable information safe, Dell Small Business Technology Advisors can recommend tailored security solutions like servers, storage, networking. Plus, right now, get up to 45% off select business computers with Intel Core processors. Running your own small business is a big challenge, but with the right partner, it's a lot easier. To speak with an advisor today, call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
President Trump defending his strategy in Syria.
The nations in the region must ultimately take on the responsibility of helping Turkey and Syria police their border.
Claiming success after speaking with Turkey's president and a Kurdish general this morning.
Facing harsh criticism from both Republicans and Democrats for his abrupt decision to pull all U.S. forces out of northern Syria, the president claimed a breakthrough, saying the temporary 5-day ceasefire on Turkey's border with Syria is now permanent.
By the moves that we've made, we are achieving a much more peaceful and stable area between Turkey and Syria, including a 20-mile wide safe zone.
The president said sanctions the U.S. imposed on Turkey would be lifted unless something happens that, in the president's words, we're not happy with. The ceasefire comes a day after Turkey and Russia announced they had reached a separate deal for control of northeastern Syria.
Fox's John Decker at the White House. The teacher strike in Chicago is now 1 week old. Picketers descending on the city's business district today as new mayor Lori Lightfoot unveiled her first budget proposal.
The mayor's promised the teachers a pay increase of 16% and up, but the teachers have a long list of demands, starting at guarantees for smaller classes, a nurse and a librarian in every school, and a supplement for housing. The mayor said today the city's looking at an $838 million budget shortfall. She already told the teachers there's no money to meet their demands, and under Rahm Emanuel, the people of Chicago were already hit with a property tax increase.
Residents don't want to see their property taxes increased. And who can blame them?
Now, the teachers have a lot of public support, but so does Mayor Lightfoot. She was elected not too long ago by a landslide.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Chicago. Game 2 of the World Series tonight in Houston after the Washington Nationals took Game 1 in their World Series debut. Lisa Brady, this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News update, I'm Rob Jones. The suspect in the murder on October 11th on the west side of Fort Dodge appeared in court today. Fort Dodge resident Damian Chavez made his initial appearance today on charges of first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. Chavez is accused of killing Sioux Falls, South Dakota resident Mohammed Yoab. Chavez was captured October 13th during a traffic stop in South Georgia. Bail was set for Chavez at $6 million cash only. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for him on Friday, November 1st. 17-year-old Tate Martinson, who is also being charged with robbery stemming from the October 11th incident, is scheduled for a preliminary hearing tomorrow after now being charged as an adult. Fort Dodge City Manager David Furyk was a guest on Divine Intervention with Mike Devine on KVFD AM 1400. During his appearance, Furyk would talk about broadband.
Citywide elections we put on the ballot, and basically it's a referendum. It's a question, basically, shall the city have the authority to, I call it, establish a municipal telecom utility for the city? So if that passes, meaning 50% of the people vote for it, then the city has the authority to establish a municipal telecommunications utility, which would probably have voice phone, it would have internet, and then it would have cable television, because you usually provide all three, the big one being the internet.
Furyk says if the broadband utility passes, there's still a lot of steps in the process.
If that passes, the city council still has a lot of work to do before they're going to go build telecommunications utility. In fact, they have to go through a full feasibility study to determine that it is practical and the right thing to do and a prudent thing to do to build a telecommunications utility.
Furyk says the city council has made this a priority because of the major need that they see broadband is in the Fort Dodge community.
As a council, they put this on their strategic plan as a very important initiative, and it is because internet communications has become a essential utility. Much like 100 years ago when water and sewer were becoming the essential utilities that cities provide, now it's telecommunications. We have over 25% of the people that did this survey do some form of work from home and rely on internet service to do that functions.
Whether the city can create a broadband utility will be left up to the voters in the citywide elections on November 5th. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Scattered rain showers likely this afternoon, otherwise overcast skies. Daytime highs approaching 46, north winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected tonight, chance for scattered showers, lows dip down to about 31. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Tomorrow, high temperatures reach up to 44. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 39.
Have the talk of the lifetime with the ones you love and make the difference of a lifetime.
Grandma, this card asks, what's your favorite family tradition?
Christmas would be my favorite. You know how we use the special tablecloth and all the fancy dishes?
And those cookies you always make.
Should we whip up a batch and bake some together now?
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most isn't just important today, it will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Connect to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
I'm Stuart Varney, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Apple shares are in record territory after some upbeat comments from a Morgan Stanley analyst. Katie Huberty says despite skepticism about Apple's TV Plus service, she sees it showing up as a positive in Apple earnings by September 2021, assuming just 1 in 10 Apple users sign up. Apple's streaming service launches on November 1st. Boeing's earnings were mixed, but now there's a new concern after it cut production of its 787 Dreamliner, citing weaker demand because of global trade.
Michael Devine, the Truth Doctor, the Doctor of Truth.
The prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive Little Blue Pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it extra affordable. And right now, get your first online visit totally free when you go to 4hims.com/joy. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/joy. FORHIMS.com/joy.
Michael Devine.
You're very clever, my charming little friend.
With more stimulating talk radio.
But not clever enough.
Well, I'm not clever enough, apparently. AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Yeah, we're going to tell the truth. Make it matter and never be boring, because I am the Doctor of Truth. With us now, County Supervisor Keith Dinklaw and our Auditor, Doreen. What's the matter? And we also have Big Ed from Georgia. What do you say, Ed?
Well, I say hello, and I hope everything's going well in Iowa. I hope more jobs are getting accomplished, and the economy's doing great, and Trump comes to see us up there in Iowa and makes things even better than it is today.
Well, you know, the economy in Iowa would be a lot better if two things happened. It dried up for a while so we get the crop out of the field. And second, if those damn Democratic pals of yours would just get off their butt and let the USMCA Trade Act go through, that we need pretty bad. But neither one of those things is happening. Ed, can you help us?
Well, first of all, I don't know what I can do, but I'll tell you this. Trump has been doing a fantastic job, just unbelievable, making things better all across this land, and it's driving the Democrats, which I despise for the most part. I know most of them are just off their rocker.
Well, you know, I got the county supervisor here, one of the county supervisors with me. He's got a lot of Democrats on his board, so we got to take care now. We got to take
well,
care.
Absolutely, but common sense. That's one thing when I grew up in Iowa, and I've always thought that Iowa people have common sense.
Well, I prefer to think we're brilliant, but common sense works for me. And I'm going to have to talk to our county supervisor and our auditor, but please feel free to call in anytime.
I sure will, sir, and have a great day. The Doctor of Truth, the Truth Doctor, keeping Iowa straight.
All right, thank you very much. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Yeah, everybody needs a listener like me.
Everybody, yeah, that's good. In Georgia.
He grew up here around here. I think he originally from Gilmore, but he lived as a kid over in East Lawn. That was a long
Didn't know that.
So, Doreen, what do we got going over there, kiddo?
Well, we've got an election coming up here on
we do.
November 5th, and this year it is a combined city and school election. We're going to have the people come in and vote for city and school for the urban people, and the rural people will just come in and vote for a school. So,
what school are we voting on there? The rural people.
There's multiple schools.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
school board.
Yeah, school board. Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
all those elections.
All those elections, correct. And then in conjunction with that, we have gone to, and previously we'd use about 20 different precincts for the school elections, and now with this and for the city. And so with combining these two, we've gone back to our original 28 precincts, which is the same as your general. So you will go to the same precinct each year, year after year after year.
All right.
Until we make some changes again.
That would work for me.
Yep. So it's always going to be the same one.
Yeah.
We did have two changes. One was First Congregational Church of Christ is replacing Fieldhaver, and that's up on Williams Drive.
Yep.
And then the other one is Duncombe School, and I think before they were at the Methodist Church out there, and now they're at Duncombe School.
You know, I have to vote over at Erie School, the old Erie School, and I live 2 blocks north of here. I think the First Presbyterian Church still has voting there.
Yes, they do.
You know, that's a lot closer than Erie School. not that it's a terrible thing for me to go after Erie, but
right.
It must be a kind of a twisted line in through
well,
there.
you know, sometimes you're in a precinct and it's all residential, and you don't find a church or something real easy, so you have to go to the outside edge to get one, and that might be what it is in this case. That is quite often common.
Okay.
You have to find a place big enough to host it.
Yeah.
So
you live up in the north part of town, Keith. Where do you go?
Cooper.
All right.
But it sounds like we might not be able to vote at the schools anymore.
We can't vote at the schools
Well,
anymore? We're not going to?
we might not be able to next year. We don't know yet. We're still working with them. Is that right?
Why? Is this some kind of new regulation or something?
Well, it's a security thing. Superintendent Ulrich spoke with me and said that there's some concern, like in the elementary schools, with them being open to voters and not having control for somebody coming in with, like, parents coming in and taking a student and they're not aware of it. So it's just, and he also pointed out if they go into lockdown, they would lock down and we would not be able to come and go at voting.
What a world we live in, I swear to God.
That's for sure. That's for sure. So we're probably going to be looking at addressing some of those concerns next year and trying to make some improvements. We're also considering, if the legislator will allow it, going to vote centers. And with vote centers, we would probably be at, say, in Fort Dodge, we might go from 12 precincts down to 4. But you could vote in any one of those 4 precincts.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, that'd be more convenient.
Yes. That
And
would be for
cheaper.
a lot of people.
And save us a lot of money.
Yes.
Because it's really getting hard for people to find people to work at all these precincts. I mean, you got how many hundreds of people?
120 people.
120 people she has to find to work at all these precincts all day.
120?
Yeah. So it's a major thing, just finding people to work at these.
Yes, it is.
Do you pay them, or are they strictly volunteer?
We pay. It's God, you're going to ask me that.
It's like,
12.
no, it's better than that. We raised it to 14 or 15, didn't we?
No, it's at 12 or 12.50.
Okay.
What we went to. Yeah.
But you realize they got to get there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they cannot leave the building till 8 o'clock that night.
Or 9.
9.
Or 8:30.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a all day, every day, full day, no leaving the building.
That's correct.
Wow.
It's a long day.
Yeah.
And, you know, most of our people are the elderly, they're retired, and a lot of them like to do this. It's a little bit of extra income, you know, something to make a little
some
bit
of them
money.
maybe like to do it out of civic duty, too. That's always good.
And that's true, too. Yep, some of them do. That's true. We have some farmers, and that can be difficult, especially this year, because they're not sure they're going to be out of the field on time. So in those cases, we have to look for alternates to make sure.
Way it's looking, they won't be.
Yeah.
Snow on Tuesday, for God's sake.
Yeah. I had one call me the other day, and he said, "Can you tell me what the weather's going to be on November 5th?" And I said, "Well, I know there's going to be at least 10 or 12
Can you
inches
tell
of
me what
snow
the
on
weather's
there."
going to be?
We got snow on the ground. They won't be farming, so they'll be able to work at the polls.
I said 10 or 12 inches.
Yeah.
So,
10 or 12 inches. Yeah.
Yep, not a problem. Not a problem.
And you want to explain to them what they're going to need at the polls?
Okay, yeah, absolutely, Keith. At the polls this year, there are some new requirements. Last year, you had the option to show your ID, This year it is mandatory. So you have to come in with an approved form of identification, and typically that's your driver's license, a military issued card with your picture on it, passport. I think school IDs are accepted right now. And then also there's, for some people that don't have any form of ID, there's what we call a PIN card. And the Secretary of State has recognized anybody that does not have an ID and one's not available. And they have gone ahead and created those pins for them, and we mailed those out. So they would have to bring that card in with them.
You know, last time I got a driver's license, I got a little gold star up in the right-hand corner or wherever it is.
Yep.
And they said I needed that to leave the country or some dog. I haven't left the country for a while, but I'd like to go down to Mexico, especially when it's...
Well, it's lucky you passed the test, so you got your driver's license, too, so you do have a form of identity.
I am a little, well, I tried to get... I have a CDL, and that was a little difficult at my age to get that renewed, but I got it done.
But there is, if you don't have any of those, you still can vote. Is that right?
There's a couple other things that you can do. If you can prove identity and residence using Election Day registration documents, which would basically mean you would have to have a piece of mail that has your address on it, and oh, now I'm going to draw a blank. There's some other form of ID you have to have. Also, and it's on the website if anybody wants to look it up, or they can call our office. They can also have an attester, and that's somebody that lives in the precinct and they know this person, and so they can basically say, yes, this is John Doe and he lives at this address.
Right.
And then they also have to sign a form saying that they're attesting to that person being who they are. And the third option is, say you left it at home, nobody's there to attest for you. Well, then you can go ahead and vote. They'll put it in what we call a provisional ballot, which is a separate folder they put it into, and then they hold on to that, and you have, I think it's 4 or 5 days after the election to come in and actually prove your ID. So you can bring it in at that time, and then your ballot will continue to be counted.
Sometimes people don't drive, especially older people who are done driving.
Correct.
Do you have just an ID for them? They don't have a driver's license anymore? I mean, can they?
Yeah, and that's where the Secretary of State has an ID card that they mailed out to those folks that no longer have a driver's license.
Okay.
So they got permission to research that database and discover who was not having any form of ID, and then those are the people that got that special ID card. And those folks need to bring that card with them when they come in.
Sure.
Otherwise
Did that cost the older folks anything?
No.
Listen to me talking.
But they
about
probably got it and think, what the heck's this, and throw it away.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have. I'd have looked at the mail and go, what the heck's this? I don't need this, and tossed it.
Yeah, listen to me referring to somebody as old.
But you can still absolutely vote once you get there. There's, they won't turn you down. It's just maybe your vote will go into the provisional until you can prove that you are a resident.
Exactly.
So no matter what, you'll be able to vote that day.
That's right.
Well, that works. That works. So we can vote now on broadband, and we can vote now for the city council elections. Is that correct?
Yes, you can vote on the absentee precinct that's at the courthouse. It's open from 8 till 4:30 each day up until the day before the election, November 4th. But the last day to get a ballot mailed out, we have to receive the application by this Friday. That's also the last day to register to vote. So after that date, you'd have to come in person to vote. You couldn't have one mailed out to you or go to your polling place.
And we moved the voting place to the first floor of the courthouse in the conference room, so you don't have to go up the steps. You don't have to take the elevator. You can walk right in, go to your left by where the bathrooms are, and there's a conference room there, and the voting machines are in there.
Yep.
So we tried to get it convenient. This is going to happen.
No, right now.
Oh, you can do it now.
Yes, I voted. I voted yesterday, I guess, when I was there.
I need to get over there and vote.
It's really easy. You walk main floor. You walk in. They give them your driver's license and sign a paper, and they take you back. You push a couple buttons, and you're done.
Your ballot comes up.
Your ballot comes up. You put it in the.
Don't have to go up to your office then.
Nope. It's all on the first floor. We're trying to make it as handy and as accessible as we can.
Yes.
Well, that works for me.
Yep. Had a lot of compliments about it already. People are enjoying that. So
well, good.
It's a good thing.
I got some staff meeting tomorrow, so I might as well go.
Go vote.
There you go.
It's very easy.
There you go.
Well, I prefer to do it. I'm really glad that this came around. I remember back in the day when we could only vote on election day.
Oh yeah.
And that got to be kind of a trick. Big lines sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
we're trying to make it as easy as possible. Give you a lot of options.
A lot of time.
Yep.
A lot of
So
places.
these are school board elections as well are coming in. Fort Dodge schools.
Correct. Yep, Fort Dodge schools, Fort Dodge City would be on all the city ballots here.
Suppose we should vote for Wagner. Should we re-elect Wagner? Or not?
There's 4 on the ballot, and you vote for 4. Everybody's going to get, unless there's a couple of write-ins. But it looks like you vote for 4. I remember voting for 4 on the ballot. There's only 4, and the school referendum, and then your city council at large and your city councilman. Or whatever. The referendum on the broadband.
On the broadband, yeah.
And you vote yes or no on that.
I'm kidding. Wagner's done a good job over there. Stu
Yes, he has.
over there for years. And they don't get paid.
No, they don't get paid hardly. I don't think anything.
It's
If they
all
do, it's not enough.
Service. No, they don't get paid anything.
Oh, wow. Well, you give them kudos then because they do a great job.
You wouldn't do it for
nothing.
No. Neither would I.
Yeah. They do a great job. They've done with the school system.
Yes, they do. Good for them.
So we just thought we'd get that out there so everybody knows when they come to vote what they're going to need, where they can go, vote now, vote later.
Yep.
Vote.
Vote.
Lots of options.
So you miss farming here with the weather the way it's been?
Oh, yeah. It's just I lose sleep every night because I can't get out there. I just, I'll probably go out and help some guys as soon as it gets dry now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Run a combine,
I don't know, whatever. Whatever they need. I can do
Yeah.
about anything.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah, they're 2.5 weeks behind right now, and the corn's not going to dry down any more than it is right now because it's frosted. So whatever the corn is, it's not going to dry down any.
It's not going to dry anymore.
Is what it is.
Yep.
Well, that ain't worth a darn, is it?
No.
And remember, we're going to breakfast at the Lions Club.
That's right.
Saturday.
That's right.
They got their annual Lions Den, Noon Lions, I think it is, whatever it is.
I
Noon
think
Lions.
we went there last year, didn't we?
I don't know. I don't think I could make it that last year. But
We went there because our accountant buddy had the number.
Oh.
And I had a couple of free passes to that Lions Den thing. He wanted those, so he had even though he had the number, it only cost him $6.
I got 2 passes, so I'll throw them in.
Oh, you had 2 passes?
I already bought tickets for it. Yeah.
Oh, you always bought?
I already bought tickets, but I just go down there anyway. Give the Lions a little bit of money.
Not? Yeah, why not? Yeah, well, the Lions do a lot of good things.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. So anything else from you two, or are we good? Or?
No, I think we got everything covered we need to cover. We just want to make sure everybody could understand how to vote and what they needed. And I think we got that accomplished.
I think we got that accomplished.
No,
all right.
no calls is good calls.
Yes.
Well, all right.
Well,
Doreen,
thank you.
Thank you for coming in, Doreen.
Sure.
Thank you,
Yep.
Keith. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Okay, we're going to have Nevin Conrad telling us why he should, in fact, here he is. We're going to have Nevin Conrad on the air with us right after news at AM 1400. KVFD is Divine Intervention News.
With your KVFD news update, I'm Rob Jones. The suspect in the murder on October 11th on the west side of Fort Dodge appeared in court today. Fort Dodge resident Damian Chavez made his initial appearance today on charges of first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. Chavez is accused of killing Sioux Falls, South Dakota resident Mohammed Yoab. Chavez was captured October 13th during a traffic stop in South Georgia. Bail was set for Chavez at $6 million cash only. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for him on Friday, November 1st. 17-year-old Tate Martinson, who is also being charged with robbery stemming from the October 11th incident, is scheduled for a preliminary hearing tomorrow after now being charged as an adult. Fort Dodge City Manager David Furyk was a guest on Divine Intervention with Mike Devine on KVFD AM 1400. During his appearance, Furyk would talk about broadband.
Citywide elections, we put on the ballot, and basically it's a referendum. It's a question, basically, shall the city have the authority to establish a municipal telecom utility for the city? So if that passes, meaning 50% of the people vote for it, then the city has the authority to establish a municipal telecommunications utility, which would probably have voice, phone, it would have internet, and then it would have cable television, because usually provide all three, the big one being the internet.
Furyk says if the broadband utility passes, there's still a lot of steps in the process.
If that passes, the city council still has a lot of work to do before they're going to go build telecommunications utility. In fact, they have to go through a full feasibility study to determine that it is practical and the right thing to do and a prudent thing to do to build a telecommunications utility.
Furyk says the city council has made this a priority because of the major need that they see broadband is in the Fort Dodge community.
As a council, they put this on their strategic plan as a very important initiative, and it is because communications, internet communications, has become a essential utility. Much like 100 years ago when water and sewer were becoming the essential utilities that cities provide, now it's telecommunications. We have over 25% of the people that did the survey do some form of work from home and rely on internet service to do that functions.
Whether the city can create a broadband utility will be left up to the voters in the citywide elections on November 5th. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. December corn down a quarter penny at $3.87 3/4. March down a quarter cent at $3.99 3/4. May down a half a penny at $4.06 1/4. July down a penny at $4.12. November soybeans down a quarter penny at $9.33 3/4. January unchanged at $9.48 1/4. March down a quarter penny at $9.59 1/2. May down a half a cent at $9.68. December wheat up 2 3/4 at $5.20 3/4. Soybean meal up $1.70 a ton at $3.0860. October live cattle up 32 cents at $110.20. December up $1.55 at $1.15 1/4. October feeder cattle up $1.32 at $1.45.02. November up $1.25 at $1.44.75. December lean hogs up 32 cents at $65.82. February down $1.17 at $75.10. From the farm desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The major averages closing in the green as investors digest a slew of earnings reports from some of the country's leading companies, with the Dow rising 46 points, the Nasdaq up 16, S&P 500 up 9. And after the closing bell, Microsoft reporting earnings and revenue beating Wall Street expectations, with the software giant's cloud computing Azure division growing nearly 60%, which is actually slightly down from the previous quarter. And Ford reporting earnings beating Wall Street estimates, but its shares declined in the extended session after the truck and automaker said it expects increased fourth quarter headwinds. And eBay's revenue coming in below estimates as it faces intense competition from Amazon and Walmart, with the company forecasting a weaker outlook. eBay shares are lower after hours. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Real travel is life-changing. With Trafalgar, you'll discover the best way to travel and connect with the culture, people, and places you visit. You'll travel with the freedom to discover and the confidence to explore. With over 300 trips on all 7 continents, you get real experiences that you won't find elsewhere. These are just a few of the greatest travel stories you'll ever tell. Save up to 10% on trips. Terms and conditions apply. Visit your travel agent or Trafalgar.com. Trafalgar, simply the best.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 40 degrees in Fort Dodge. Tonight, we're going to have more rain like we needed. Cloudy, then gradually becoming partly cloudy toward morning. Our overnight low, 31 degrees. Sunny tomorrow with a high of 45. On Friday, it'll be sunny with a high of 51. Saturday, it'll be sunny with a high of 56. Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 47. On Monday, it'll be sunny with a high of 43. Tuesday, chance of snow with a high of 38 degrees. Well, I guess that was coming. I guess the corn's, as Keith said, is as dry as it's ever going to get, so might as well get it out of the field if they can. My God, what a mess. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South in Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucefuneralhome.com. Mr. Dennis Neff has passed away. Dennis L. Neff of Mankato, Minnesota, died on Monday. Mr. Neff, again, was 73 years old. Lyle Krause of Fort Dodge has passed away. Mr. Krause will have a memorial service. There will be a memorial service for Mr. Lyle W. Krause, and that'll be November 2nd at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the Ruthven Methodist Church in Ruthven. And Bud Fair has died. Well-known area resident Irvin Bud Fair, 94 years old, of Manson, died on Thursday at his home surrounded by his family. He was a longtime boxing coach and boxing enthusiast who taught a lot of young men in our area how to box. He was with the Fort Dodge Boxing Club for 35 years. Bud Fair has passed away. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucefuneralhome.com. Councilman Nevin Conrad is here, and we'll talk with Councilman Conrad in just a minute and a half.
We are the land of the free because of the brave. Alpha Media and Graham Tire want to thank our local military men and women for their service. Our Wall of the Brave is currently displayed at Graham Tire of Fort Dodge. We invite you to stop out to Graham Tire and sign the wall as a show of support for our military. This special veterans promotion is sponsored by Graham Tire of Fort Dodge, Farm Nutrients, Advanced Heating and Cooling, River Valley Winery and Orchards, the Co-op Bar and Grill, and Alpha Media Fort Dodge.
This is happening. Our busy company's buzzing like the hornet's nest in the tree outside. Then Tina walks in.
We've got a projections problem, Brian. Management's given us crazy numbers to hit and not enough crew to handle it.
I spring into action like a human hornet and jump on Upwork. I book a team of remote freelance pros, each ready to start immediately. And those projections, with Upwork, this is happening. Hey, Tina, want to get lunch?
Thanks, but there's hornets outside.
Upwork. Hire freelancers, make things happen.
Dispatch, medevac air transport to St. Luke's. Patient transfer. Roadways blocked by snow.
When minutes matter, and the ER is too far away, air emergency care could save your life. But insurance companies don't count your minutes. They count your money. Tell your member of Congress to fight the insurance companies.
Paid for by Alliance for Access to Critical Care.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
Yes, we have 60 rounds of freedom here at all times at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge. We are going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring. We welcome to the program once again, and we're pleased to have in the studio Councilman Nevin Conrad. He is a council at large, and he is running for re-election. His opponent is Melvin Newsom. And if you see Melvin Newsom, tell him he can come on again. I've tried to get a hold of Melvin, but he's a hard guy to catch. So, I'll allow Melvin equal time. But, Nevin, thanks for coming on such a lousy day. My God.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Fix the weather.
Fix the weather. I would love to do that. I'd love to get out my magic wand and wave it, and that's it. Of course, I've been talking about broadband again today, and the plot has thickened as far as broadband. Mediacom tries to represent itself as this very well-meaning company, but I see that they've brought out some heavy hitters in the form of a Facebook page called No Government Internet. Now, Chip Baltimore is a former representative here in Iowa and an attorney from Boone. I've met Chip a couple of times. Nice guy. He is definitely a Republican, and it is said that Chip is paid by some large anti-tax groups to go around Iowa scaring people, essentially. Now, that's what we know as a lobbyist for very wealthy people who don't like to see taxes of any kind or regulation of any kind. I hope to have Chip on the air. I've sent him a message already. We'll see if he responds. Of course, he kind of probably knows my position on this by now, since I've been kind of vocal about it, Nevin. What is your position on broadband?
So broadband, and the biggest thing I can stress right now is to make sure that everyone knows that we're going to have a workshop on the broadband study this coming Monday. It'll be in the council chambers 5 to 6 o'clock right before the council meeting this coming Monday. I encourage everybody to come to that meeting to learn the facts so that they can make a well-informed decision on this. This has been an issue, and I was kind of thinking about it today about what the council has done during my time, and I think the past 4 years have been about responding to issues that the citizens raise, whether it be dilapidated houses, whether it be the mall, which is a project that's ongoing. And now it's not, I'll say from my personal perspective, I have Mediacom internet. I'm happy with it, but there's a lot of people that don't feel that they're getting what they pay for,
that would
and
be
that
me, yeah.
and that disagree with the consistency of the service. And so the council has acted. We've put it on the ballot, and it's the way that this should be. It's going to the people to make this decision. It's a big decision, and I hope that everybody has the opportunity to get as much information on this as possible. There's probably a lot of people that have their minds made up on this already before they even need to hear anything. But
actually, I got a couple of calls today that indicates there's interest but fear. Mm-hmm. Some of the fear-mongering from outside groups, and frankly, it is coming from outside groups.
And this is what I will say to that, because a lot of that fear is stemming from the cost. And don't get me wrong, this would be an extremely expensive undertaking. But if I'm reelected and this is passed on the 5th, my pledge to the people of Fort Dodge is I will not approve any municipal-owned utility unless we have some assurances that it will be self-funded through everything. I don't want this to come from every taxpayer. It should be funded through the system, set up like a business, and any profits at any, if at all, that are generated by this stay in that fund, go towards continuing repair, necessary infrastructure improvements as the years go on, so that we're not in a situation 20 years from now where, yeah, this is great. In 2020, we started this broadband utility, but we haven't done anything in 20 years, and we're looking at it going, well, now we've got a bad service too. So to make sure that we're long-term planning like we do throughout the rest of the city too. But even if the people do vote for it, like David said, he said it at the meeting or the forum the other night, which unfortunately I could not make it to. I was in a meeting that ran long. But it's no guarantee that a yes vote equals a municipal broadband service.
That's right.
It opens the door for that. It opens the door for discussions with existing providers, potential new third-party providers to come in. And so that's my pledge to the people, is if this passes through, obviously we want to approach it in a fiscally responsible way that we know is going to last and last long-term.
And provide better service, hopefully.
Yes,
for
hopefully.
Less cost.
Yes, that's the biggest thing.
That's the key thing. And I repeat, ladies and gentlemen, it's not good to have a franchise agent with sole authority to provide internet in our town. Competition is what capitalism thrives on. Yep. So no matter what this taxpayer group says, they're anti-competition, essentially. What they want is a monopoly on our internet service so they can charge us any way they like, and not do anything as far as customer service is concerned. Does anybody like sitting in their house 4 hours waiting for some cable guy to show up? Jeez. I mean, come on.
And another thing, you mentioned Chip Baltimore. He had that editorial several weeks back, which was...
I missed that.
Straight fear-mongering was all that was. And why we need outside influence in something that's a City of Fort Dodge matter, I don't know.
Because
I
there's
disagree
a lot of
that
money.
He's involved. But he phrased it as a yes vote equals a blank check. Well, that is absolutely not the case.
No.
As I just stated, if this is to go, there has to be assurances that it will be self-sustaining for the long term.
I'm going to hunt Chip down. I don't care. I'm going to hunt him down.
Get him on the program?
Well, he may not appear in the program, but he's going to give me some audio. I'll tell you that. I know where Boone is.
Yeah. He might not be in Boone. He's out in D.C. with his pack.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he's a lobbyist, ladies and gentlemen. And lobbyists try to scare the hell out of you, especially if you're an older person in our town, and it's despicable as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying Chip Baltimore does this necessarily, but from the appearance of, or what Nevin just told us, and I can't believe I missed that, with his piece in the Fort Dodge Messenger. And that's what I have against the Messenger again. Doggone it. If you're going to put something like that in there, offer a rebuttal. There is another side. I mean, or unless you're selling a lot of ads to the anti-competition group, I don't know. But yeah, we'll find Skip. See if he can skip himself in here.
Chip,
or whatever his name is. Chip, Skip, what difference?
Maybe he'll call in. We'll get our audio this week.
Yeah, well, we'll see if he will. I'm about in the right mood to talk with Chip today. He's the one that played a part in hosing us out of a casino.
Mm-hmm.
Come on up here and talk to us about everything. You're so concerned about us there, Chip Baltimore. What was the hosing we got there in regard to the Jefferson Casino? We couldn't have one here. I mean, it was too close to Emmitsburg, so they put one in Jefferson.
Yep.
And Chip Baltimore, if you remember, ladies and gentlemen, said the Racing and Gaming Commission were courageous in their stance on the Jefferson Casino. This guy is not your friend. He is the one that's advocating to keep Mediacom the sole provider of internet in your town. You like that? Because I don't. I'm sorry. I should not get on that rant because this is Nevin Conrad's time, and he's supposed to tell us why he should be reelected. So you and I, and you talked very passionately about this. The way I see it, there's two, in my mind anyway, there's two big issues. One of them is broadband, and we've talked about it.
Yep.
The other's crime, and you and I talked about that the last time
Yep,
you
we
were here.
talked last week about that.
Has there been any other, or do you have any other ideas? Or at the time I spoke with you some days ago, we expressed outrage, you and I, as everybody in our town should. Do you have any ideas as to what to do about crime?
Other than what I previously talked about last week, really at this point, as you know, we're about to get into the budget season.
Yeah.
And with that, really honing in on what we can do to help law enforcement, specifically to find funding channels in there. And as I stated last week, I don't think we can throw any option off the table. If it's a viable option, let's talk about it. Let's figure out funding. If we can't fund it this year, well, let's work on that in the future. But cameras, and I preface this by saying none of these are immediate fixes. I don't think there is a short-term fix. It's all going to be long-term fixes. But if we can focus on community partnerships in regards to cameras, and then from the city's perspective, investing in cameras in hotspots in our downtown, just to aid our law enforcement. If people aren't going to talk, well, you know what? We got your face on a camera. We'll let the camera do the talking for
really.
it. Going that route, and the question has to be raised about potentially adding more officers as well. Is that an end-all solution? No. Does it help? Absolutely. So yeah, keep all the options on the table, look at funding, see what we can work with. The general fund's always extremely tight, and I think I talked a little bit about raising that 810 levy and the emergency levy caps last week. That would be a huge help, not only in regards to law enforcement, but just general fund overall.
No, you said what as far as the levy?
So the general fund levy is what's often referred to as the 810 levy because it's $8.10 per $1,000 of taxable. And then the emergency levy is 27 cents per $1,000 of taxable. Those two are capped at those numbers, and they've been capped at that. Those were set in 1974. The 810 levy previously, the language was a city could tax 30 mills on the dollar. I don't know what a mill is, so I'm not sure what amount that is, but that's how long ago that those were set. They have not been adjusted for inflation. And so from a city perspective, and I give credit to our city clerk, Jeff Nemmers, David, all the department heads, and all the way down through staff. We do a good job of maximizing every dollar that comes through, but that doesn't change the fact that we have this downward pressure because of those caps that have been in existence for over 40 years. If we could get those caps bumped up even slightly, gives us some breathing room for these issues, for cameras, for additional law enforcement, things like that, while, in my mind, increasing the transparency, because instead of having funding coming from 6 different funds, if we can raise that general fund cap, here are your taxpayers going in the general fund, here they are going out. It's easier to see, so that would be a huge help if the State House would do that for us. I don't know if that's a possibility, but that just goes to the conversation of crime, and again, it falls back on that funding source. And am I willing to raise taxes to get these cameras in place, to get additional law enforcement? You bet I am. It's not a popular thing to say you're going to raise taxes, but these past few months are very clear. Something needs to be done, and in times like this, we just got to do it.
We're talking about a tax raise in response to some brutal murders in our town.
And it wouldn't be a significant tax raise either. It'd be actually fairly small in comparison of everything. But if we can get a camera system in place and we can potentially add a couple more officers, I'm for it.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Just don't put up any speed cars anymore. We have Bemrick's in love with those things.
Dodge that conversation.
You're dodging it. All right. Councilman Devin Conrad is our guest, 515-955-1400. If you have a question for the councilman. By the way, again, Councilman Conrad is his opponent is Melvin Newsom, who's run 20 times or something for various offices. But if you see Melvin, tell him he's got 20 minutes coming on the air if he wants it. He doesn't have to take it, but I don't think there's a couple other candidates out there who will take my offer of time either, since I've been barking about MediaCom for so loudly. Anyway.
You'll have the opportunity to ask questions tomorrow night. Another forum.
6 o'clock.
Friendship Haven, 6 o'clock. All the candidates will be there, so I think we'll be there. I guess I can only speak for myself, but I think everybody's going to be there. So
Friendship, yeah. Well, it's Dave Flattery and Richard Higgins.
Dave, Richard, Andy, Justin. Does he go by Melvin or Eugene?
Actually, he goes by Melvin.
Okay, so then Melvin and myself. Yep.
Yeah, I asked him about that once, what he preferred to be called, and he wanted to be called Melvin. He said some of his supporters, when he first started running for office, gave his full name Eugene Melvin Newsom. And so a lot of people call him Eugene, which he doesn't. My name is James Michael.
Yep.
My dad was, my dad had his ways. Let me put it that way. He was an eccentric. To say the least, my dad was an Irish Catholic eccentric. Can you imagine that? But anyway, yeah, that's the deal. So Melvin likes to be called Melvin, which is okay with me. I don't care. Well, I gave you my two most important things that we should consider in the run-up to the council election. And I really should be asking what your two biggies are.
Biggest issues, and one is kind of just a given. I think we continue investing in our infrastructure, streets, water, sewer. If we ever have a year where we don't invest in them, it's just going to multiply going forward. So we can keep our foot to the pedal in regards to street repairs. Every winter, we're going to have freezing and thawing that are going to blow up potholes, but we keep continually addressing that. I've stayed in the forums in the last 4 years. We've spent $73 million plus on roads, sewers, and water. So we're investing in ourselves in that regard. Second part that I would say for big issues, it just as a kind of general sense, and I say this having just said that I would be open to raising taxes for a camera program, additional law enforcement officers, but from what I've taken from my perspective out of the forums is I think that the city has acted in a fiscally responsible manner with taxpayer dollars. We have a huge budget, but when you look at what we've been able to get accomplished, not only in my 4 years, but beyond that, to see these projects, to see these improvements, all while really maintaining a pretty status quo property tax levy from the city perspective, it speaks to the councils, it speaks to Jeff, it speaks to David, the department heads, and the staff as a whole that we do a good job. And so I'm not out here advocating that we just start throwing money at giant projects, things like that, but we do our long-term capital improvement projects, and we have a plan for the future so that in 5-10 years, when there's undoubtedly going to be a brand new council, it doesn't shift with elections. We keep a steady plan going forward with the city, and I think having that common sense approach, having that perspective as to planning, is going to be or should be a huge point when people make their decision, and that's kind of what I want to highlight tomorrow at the forum. When I go to forums, I always want to see the differences between candidates, and I'm going to really try to highlight that tomorrow night, because that's how you can make the decision. I mean, Melvin said in the first forum that he's very happy with what the council's done. And so when you make a comment like that, I mean, people need to see the differences, and hopefully the forum tomorrow is an opportunity to give people some more information so that if they haven't already voted, they can make that well-informed vote on Election Day.
Okay. And you are running for re-election. I mean, you're a young man with 3 children. You have a law practice. This is a lot of work to be on the council. What do you guys get, like $4,800 a year or something?
Yeah, $4,800.
Oh, wow.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and I go, I think I end up losing money on this.
Oh, hell yes you do.
Given the time away from work that I have to do. But I enjoy doing it. It's fun. When you come from the mentality that I do of, I'm not in it for the position. I'm not in it to say that I'm a council member. I'm just in it to do, hopefully, some good for the city of Fort Dodge. And when you get a group of people with that kind of mentality together, you can really see good things happen. And I think we've seen that in Fort Dodge.
Yes, that's true. I should ask you what we need to do with our poor Crossroads Mall out there. I mean, it's a private business. I get it. But the city has to take an interest in it. I mean, that's why we have the Crosstown Connector is to
That's
drive.
Actually, it's pretty exciting. So as you're well aware, there's a developer in the talks at the moment of purchasing the mall, and obviously the city's reached out to the developer too. And again, this is another issue of the citizens have made it clear that that's an eyesore out there. They're not talking about the businesses in there, but the building and the grounds as a whole are an eyesore that deters new business, new retail, new food establishments from coming in. And so from a city perspective, I'm all in. Yeah, you need some help doing this, I'm all ears. Let me know what we can do to either improve the existing site, do some redevelopment out there. Let's talk about it, because that's the heart of our commercial center out there. And so something has to be done. And so these past few months have been extremely exciting to see a developer that might come in and actually do something worthwhile with that property and bring some much needed life in there. And for new tenants and existing tenants, I think they'd have to be thrilled with the possibility of any sort of improvement out there.
Do you think that we need a couple more police officers? I'm just worried about Bemrick and his speed cameras. I mean, he'll have them everywhere now.
Well, and that's the thing with the speed cameras. The revenue's actually gone down, I think, in the past 2 years. Because, if I drive down the road and I see any sort of white car, I'm automatically slowing down now.
Right.
I
haven't even had one in a couple of years.
I haven't had one at all.
I usually just give them a credit balance.
And that's where I go back to funding is we just look at it and go, okay, we're just going to set aside funds. It's not going to come from anywhere else other than just straight funds that come in from general fund, emergency fund, whatever it might be. But do we need more? I think, obviously I could say we could have 100 officers, and that'd be great. But I think there's always room to add on more, and especially given the workload that just the patrol officers deal with on a given shift. Having an extra body in there to help out would be huge for them, and be able to allocate our resources, which are the officers, a little more effectively just by having that extra presence.
I'm taking the Citizens Academy again this year. I took the very first one. I think this might be the last one. And I'm reminded once again, what a tough job the cops have.
Oh, yeah.
They really do. You got to love that work to do it.
Yeah. A lot of hazards in and out every single day, and
don't get a lot of respect.
When I get up and go to work, I'm pretty sure I'm coming home at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part, is a lot of times it's an unknown for them. Even my brother at the fire department, you don't know what sort of event's going to take place. Huge tire fire like they had. And that tire fire across from the fire station a few years back, I mean, really, if you look back at that, we were a few minutes away, a few firefighters moving a little more into the building before we could have had something pretty tragic happening there. So.
Oh, your brother was up on the ladder, wasn't he? Didn't they send him up in the ladder to pour to pour water down into the inferno? That would have been exciting.
They had I think everybody out there.
Everybody took turns.
And they were rotating. They had some guys going inside. It was a cold day, cold night, so they were warming up inside and just running different shifts in and out to battle that thing. But that thing lasted for weeks.
Yeah, it was
just
a
kind of
nasty
smoldered.
one. Wow.
Yeah. Don't need that again.
Whose tires were those?
That was a Graham Tire, because we had the Bat Cave right next door. And
you did,
That's
didn't you?
what led to Don Decker donating that building out in his complex for the Bat Cave out there. So,
what building did he donate?
It was the building on the southwest corner of his complex, right next to that Mac dealership that's out there.
Is that the old Powers TV, I wonder? It's a little brick building.
Not the little one, because there's a
bigger
little
one.
brick building closer to the street. This one's set back a little bit.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of buildings out there.
Yeah.
There really is. Well, that's good. You got the Bat Cave going. Did you coach baseball this year or not?
No coaching baseball. It's been a few years since I coached for teeners. I just got with kids. I mean, spending every night of the week away when I'm already gone during the day. That's my goal in coming back, was I wanted to make sure I had that work-life balance. And some days it's difficult, but I do my best. But I did run the tournaments for the Fort Dodge Baseball Association, as I do every year. 3 tournaments every year. This year we had the most teams ever that we've had. 125 teams came in from all over the Midwest, and it's already October, and I've got 4 teams lined up already to come in, so it's booming.
David Ross is the new manager of the Chicago Cubs. I don't get that necessarily.
I get it. You know, he's a former catcher, and those guys know the game inside and out. From my perspective, Joe Madden took a lot of flack that I don't think he deserved.
That's what I think.
You look at the years we've had, bullpen, leadoff hitter, front office never did anything to support those issues, and he got the plug for it.
Thank you, Nevin. Nevin Conrad has been our guest. It's 5 o'clock, KVFD, Fort Dodge, Iowa.
They want a seat at the table. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Testimony from Defense Department official Laura Cooper as the House continues its impeachment inquiry of President Trump, put on hold for a few hours after dozens of Republicans stormed the secure area of the Capitol where the hearing was being held.
I have fought from Afghanistan to West Africa, and there are countries overseas that handle this in a more fair and transparent way than the Democrats are today.
Florida Republican Michael Waltz. Cooper oversees Ukraine policy for the DOD. Fox News has learned the Defense Department tried to block her from appearing. 2 associates of President Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, who took part in the investigation of former Vice President Joe Biden in court in New York City, Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman, both pleading not guilty to conspiracy and other charges. The 2 are also connected to the impeachment inquiry for their ties to Ukraine. 2 other defendants were in court last week. All 4 are due back in court in December. Another parent in front of a judge in the college admissions cheating scandal. Fox's Gernal Scott has more live.
Lisa, after a fire alarm went off delaying the proceeding, lifestyle guru Jane Buckingham was finally sentenced to 3 weeks in federal prison. She pleaded guilty to a single count of conspiracy to commit fraud back in May. She admitted to paying to have someone take a college admissions test in place of her son. Where she will serve that time will be determined in December. After her sentence is served, Buckingham will have to pay a $40,000 fine. She is the 11th parent to be sentenced in this case. Buckingham spoke in court, telling the judge she would never forgive herself for what she's done, Lisa.
Thanks, Gernal. Wall Street at the close. A late wave of buying left stocks modestly higher. Healthcare and communications companies did the most to pull the market higher. The Dow gained 45, the Nasdaq up 15, the S&P rose 8 points. America is listening to Fox News.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
When it comes to keeping your small business's valuable information safe, Dell Small Business Technology Advisors can recommend tailored security solutions like servers, storage, networking. Plus, right now, get up to 45% off select business computers with Intel Core processors. Running your own small business is a big challenge, but with the right partner, it's a lot easier. To speak with an advisor today, call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The Webster City Police Department issued the following statement after an investigation into a recent missing person case. 38-year-old J.D. Winecoop was located earlier today. The Webster City Police Department says they appreciate all of the assistance provided by the public as well as the area public safety agencies. Out of respect for the family, no additional information is being released as of this time. We plan to have more on this story as new details emerge. The suspect in the murder on October 11th on the west side of Fort Dodge appeared in court today. Fort Dodge resident Damian Chavez made his initial appearance today on charges of first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. Chavez is accused of killing Sioux Falls, South Dakota resident Mohammed Yoab. Chavez was captured October 13th during a traffic stop in South Georgia. Bail was set for Chavez at $6 million cash only. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for him on Friday, November 1st. 17-year-old Tate Martinson, who is also being charged with robbery stemming from the October 11th incident, is scheduled for a preliminary hearing tomorrow after now being charged as an adult. Fort Dodge City Manager David Furyk was a guest on Divine Intervention with Mike Devine on KVFD AM 1400. During his appearance, Furyk would talk about broadband.
Citywide elections, we put on the ballot, and basically it's a referendum. It's a question, basically, shall the city have the authority to establish a municipal telecom utility for the city? So if that passes, meaning 50% of the people vote for it, then the city has the authority to establish a municipal telecommunications utility, which would probably have voice, phone, it would have internet, and then it would have cable television, because you usually provide all three, the big one being the internet.
Furyk says if the broadband utility passes, there's still a lot of steps in the process.
If that passes, the city council still has a lot of work to do before they're going to go build telecommunications utility. In fact, they have to go through a full feasibility study to determine that it is practical and the right thing to do and a prudent thing to do to build a telecommunications utility.
Furyk says the city council has made this a priority because of the major need that they see broadband is in the Fort Dodge community.
As a council, they put this on their strategic plan as a very important initiative, and it is because internet communications has become a essential utility.
For KVFD from the Jerry Show.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. Thank you for joining us. Open phones at 888-825-5225. Shoshana is with us in Michigan. Hey, Shoshana, how are you?
Hi, Dave. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure. What's up?
Well, my husband and I are currently going through FBU class. We are going to be starting step 7.
Good.
Or lesson 7. But taking the class has really motivated me to, I guess, find an occupation that pays a little more so we can get through our debt a lot faster. And where I'm currently at right now, they offer a program for a free college. And it's for associate's degree. I've decided to, get into that, take that next step, and it's going to be business management, focusing on finance, of all things. And but I guess my question is I know I'll complete this. It's free, so books and everything, it's going to be online. I don't have to pay for any of that, but I will probably want to continue onto a bachelor's. And just for that next 2 years, how would I be able to do that for free? And if there are scholarships for adults for college?
There are, but there are fewer than there are for kiddos.
Yeah.
Non-traditional students, they call us.
Yeah.
Because we're not 22.
No,
so,
not anymore.
Yeah. So you're in what part of Michigan?
Southeast.
Okay. And so what is the 4-year that's near you?
Well, the online class is out of Ohio.
Mm-hmm. That transfers to a 4-year in your area?
Yes, I have 2 colleges right in Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a community college right in Adrian as well, and they do now offer 4-year degrees. So I could and this is down the road from me, really, for that college. So I could transfer to that to continue it on.
They do offer a 4-year.
The Jackson does, yes.
Okay.
That community college.
Is that
does.
likely where you would finish?
Yes, because it would be a community college, so it'd be cheaper. I don't really care about the name of, the fancy colleges. So I would like to, and then they really do focus on business management as well. Oh, they have, so
and then you want to make sure
your
your online school will transfer and get full credit at Jackson.
Yes.
You want to verify
and I would
that.
Make sure.
Yeah, before you put in all this effort, even though it doesn't cost you anything, you don't want to have all the effort and then go, well, we don't really take their classes as credit. You got to start over. Or you have to move, or you have to move to some other city in order to finish your 4-year. No, we don't want to do all that.
No,
we want to make sure that the baton handoff is available and is solid. So, yeah, I think the other thing, by the time you finish this associate's, will you be out of debt in your house other than your home?
Yes. That's what my husband said. Pretty much the rate we're going right now, we'll probably be out of our non-mortgage debt before I even complete my associates.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Either
and then
way,
you could cash flow.
Way,
then you could cash flow the last 2 years if you had to.
Yes, everything would just get the house gone.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And then invest it. And then I have 2 daughters. One's a sophomore, one's a freshman. So it would be stepping right into the college savings. So push that in there.
Yeah, you're going to have to cash flow that as well, probably, because you haven't started that yet, right?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay. So we got a lot of scholarships to find for you and the kids. We've got a lot of work to do and some planning and just projecting out. I would definitely do the associates, even if you had a little gap between when you finished the associates and when you continued and knocked out the other 2 years. You might have to take a breath because you might be paying for that sophomore's freshman year.
Yeah.
If you're having to pay for it out of pocket, if you can't find some scholarships for non-traditional, but you can also spend some TIME on that. It's good. It's time well spent. And hit Anthony O'Neill's website. We got 10,000 scholarships on that scholarships tool, and they're not all for traditional. So there's some for everybody. There's just not 10,000 for you. There's 10,000 for the others. But if you could find even a list that had 300 or 400 on it, and you apply for all of them and got 3 or 4 of them, it'd be a big help, right?
Oh yes, definitely yes.
Yeah, so that's it's a law of large numbers is how you do when you're attacking the scholarships thing. You get turned down for most of them, you get a few of them, but it's $10,000.
Well, I plan on getting Anthony's book when we get it in the budget. So
yeah, well, I'll send you one.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Sure, we can do
I
that.
Appreciate that.
So you guys, we appreciate you being in Financial Peace University, and I appreciate that you're really doing all this planning. Now,
I love it.
Last thing I want to ask you, because I think I heard this in the way you're structuring your sentences, but I just want to say it out loud. You're getting this 4-year degree in business. Why?
Well, business is, I'm just saying, picked business management because I figure it would be a lot of more options, especially a general business management for healthcare, being that that's going to be in a need. So that was my option. And right now I'm only $14 an hour wage, so I wanted to, further and I know I can do so much more for myself and with my education. So that's kind of why I chose.
I think if I were you, I would also narrow that down and say, I want to do X, Y, or Z. Right now, you're saying I want to do the whole alphabet, and the and the business degree will allow me to do any letter I want to do. And it's a little too broad. I want you to have something a little bit more refined that you're aiming at with this. You're generally saying, if I get an education, I'll make more. If I get a degree in business, it's applicable a lot of places. And that's more of a shotgun. I want to narrow this in a little bit because you could end up getting this degree and getting nothing out of it as a result if you don't have a defined intentional goal that you're going after, or a series of defined intentional goals. It doesn't have to be one thing. But I'd like to be doing X or Y or Z that pays $80,000 a year when I finish this study track. And have thought that through, have looked at that job category. And it's not just generally I'd like to make more money, and this generally is an applicable thing. It's not a bad place to start the discussion. Not a good reason to spend 4 years of your life going after it, though, because you may find out that nothing happens as a result of it if you don't have good, clear goals and a good, clear target that is an actual possible job or career field that pays considerably more than you make now. So you're starting the discussion right. You're not going to end it well if you don't take it all the way through. Good question. Hold on. Madison will pick up. We'll get you a copy of Anthony O'Neill's book. Very well done. That's fun that you took a class at your church from Financial Peace University, and it makes you reevaluate your education goals and your career goals. Ding, ding. Almost like we're doing our job. I love it. This is the Dave Ramsey Show. Business leaders, if you're not using LinkedIn Jobs, you are missing out. Our Ramsey Solutions Company page on LinkedIn has over 100,000 followers. That's over 100,000 potential like-minded people our team communicates our current openings to. We also post on LinkedIn Jobs because we know the right person will have an impact on our company for years to come, and LinkedIn Jobs matches the right person with the right job. It's no wonder a hire is made every 8 seconds on LinkedIn, and over 600 million members visit LinkedIn to make connections, learn and grow as professionals, and discover new job opportunities. In fact, LinkedIn members add 15 new skills to their profiles and apply to 35 job posts every 2 seconds. Get started today with LinkedIn Jobs and get $50 off your first job post. Visit linkedin.com/Ramsey. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey y'all, Rachel Cruz here, and so excited to tell you about our next Money and Marriage event coming to Nashville, Tennessee once again for Valentine's Day 2020. I hope you'll join us for a whole weekend getaway full of amazing experiences and quality time with your spouse. This is a date night worth investing in, and we are thrilled to offer special add-on opportunities for Valentine's weekend as well. Learn more about it and purchase your ticket package today at daveramsey.com/events. See you there.
Studies show that security systems deter burglars. That's why securing your home with SimpliSafe is truly a necessity. SimpliSafe believes fear has no place in a place like home. So they made their system ridiculously smart with sensors that will protect every point of access to your home. Best of all, SimpliSafe has no long-term contracts. Protect your home and family today. Get a free HD security camera when you order at simplysafedirect.com.
Radio Iowa News is presented by the Iowa Department of Public Safety Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau. Wearing a seatbelt increases your chances of surviving a crash by 45%. It only takes 2 seconds to buckle up.
Good evening. I'm Dar Danielson. Governor Kim Reynolds says the EPA's draft plan does not meet the terms of the deal the president made to ensure the oil industry blends 15 billion gallons of ethanol and biodiesel into gas. Reynolds told reporters the president is trying to please both the oil industry and farmers.
He made a commitment to both.
She says she'll lobby the EPA to change the ethanol blend rather than ask the president to intervene. For city-based Winnebago Industries saw the fiscal year 2019 revenues drop to $1.99 billion from an even $2 billion in last year. CEO Michael Happy says he's positive, though, about the future. The spokesperson for the theatrical shop in West Des Moines says the movies are a big influence in the Halloween costumes this year.
Joker has been a big request. Star Wars, Addams Family.
Jenny Mowley says superheroes are the popular choice for kids. Radio Iowa, I'm Dar Danielson.
I was feeling so alone.
I was going through a really difficult time.
I was embarrassed and a little scared.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
I didn't think they'd understand.
I thought it would just make things worse.
It was tough at first, but I did it.
It ended up taking a huge weight off my shoulders.
I feel a lot better.
I'm glad I asked for help.
I asked for help.
I asked for help.
I asked my teacher. I asked my aunt.
I asked my dad.
I asked my mom.
I asked the Trevor Project.
Now, I feel like I can get through this.
I know that I am brave.
You can do this.
You can do this.
You can do this.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. Trained counselors are there to help 24/7. Ask for help.
Thank you for joining us. Our question of the day comes from Blinds.com, the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. You get free samples, free shipping, and with the new promos every month, you save even more. Use the magic word, the promo code RAMSEY. Saves you money. It should. Betty is in Michigan with our question. She says, our mortgage is our only debt we have. On paper, in quotes, we currently have 19 years left to pay off the mortgage, but this does not reflect the extra we have paid. We recently checked into refinancing to get lower payments so we could throw more money at the principal. That's not necessary. However, it did not make much of a difference to do that, so we chose not to. Have you ever heard of recasting a mortgage with the bank? In my initial investigation, it looks convoluted, confusing, and does not appear to have much of a positive effect on the investor. Listen, mortgages are calculated as simple interest. And so if you had, here's a simple way of looking at it. Your monthly interest rate is when it's compounded. And so if you have a 6% mortgage, that's 0.5 or 0.5% a month. 6% a year, APR, annual percentage rate. And so whatever your outstanding balance that month is, if you have a 6% mortgage, is charged a 0.5% on that. Regardless of when you paid extra, whether it was a 30, whether it was a 15, whether next month you pay extra, whether last month you paid extra. If you have a traditional conforming VA, FHA, Fannie Mae conventional mortgage, that's how it's calculated. Now, if you got a rip-off mortgage of some kind with a prepayment penalty, high interest rate, some kind of subprime crap, then that's a whole different ballgame. But a typical regular mortgage, recasting says, I'm going to take my 10-year or my 19-year remaining balance, and we're going to have them recast it, reset the mortgage like it's a 20-year. All that does is lower your payments because you're going to be in debt longer, but the interest charged will be exactly the same, except for that last year because you stayed in debt longer. It's that simple. The more you pay on principal the next month, the more goes to principal. Because every time you pay it down, if you pay it down $10,000, if you pay it down $1,000 of principal, there's that much less that's charged a 0.5% the next month. So if you had a $100,000 mortgage and you paid an extra $1,000, or you paid $1,000 in principal, the next month, the 0.5% is charged on $99,000. Regardless of how you did that principal, as long as it was applied to principal. You just don't want to prepay interest. Well, I paid my payments 4 months in advance. Don't do that. Prepay principal. And as long as you're doing that, recasting is not necessary. On paper is not necessary. And, if you really want to kind of get real nerdy and nitsy about it, if you look at your principal balance on your amortization schedule, the little schedule that prints off, we used to print them off 100 years ago. They were on green bar computer paper, right, back in the day. And they would have a column that is your principal and interest payment. Then the next column is how much of it is interest. The next column is how much of it is principal. And the next column is the reducing principal balance of the mortgage every month. And so if it says $100,000 on your principal this month, and you paid $1,000, which was some extra principal, then you would just slide your finger down until you find $99,000. And that might be 3 months from now, 4 months from now, that it would have been had you paid your regular payment. And so if you really want to go be nerdy about it, that's a way you can do it. Or you can sit and recalculate it. You can set up a little spreadsheet to do it. It's really not that much, because it's simple interest. Is the interest is calculated that month, if it's compounded monthly, on the outstanding balance, on the monthly rate of interest. And so that's all it is. It's a math formula, and it's not, I paid all the interest. No, you didn't pay all the interest. Well, the first 5 years of this mortgage was all interest. That's because your payment consisted mainly of interest, but you weren't prepaying interest. The interest charged in those first 5 years was the exact amount due that month. And the rest of it in your payment was the exact amount to the principal in order to fully amortize or fully pay it off during the payment term of 30 years or 15 years or whatever it is. So you do